personal assistant, Lisa Espinoza, is suing her ex-boyfriend, 29-year-old mechanic Juan Ruiz, for unpaid credit card bills, the return of personal belongings, and emotional distress.
Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Espinoza versus Ruiz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Espinoza, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were in a long-term relationship, and you have a child together. How old is your child?
She's going to be 6 on Sunday.
And you lived together for a period of time?
Yeah.
You claim that he owes you his portion of a credit card bill.
Mm-hmm.
He has some of your personal property from when the two of you separated, and that was almost a year ago.
Yeah.
You also want a whole bunch of money for emotional distress.
Mm-hmm.
It was a year ago, September, that you separated. Is that right?
It was a while, like in December.
December 2001.
You separated in December of 2001.
I tried to hold on, and I did things for her.
You separated in December of 2001. When was this credit card bill amassed?
I got it back in '99 when we were together, and I didn't use it for a while, maybe almost a year, and then we were short of money because...
Ms. Espinoza, let me cut to the chase, madam. Were all of the bills on the credit card amassed by December of 2001?
Yes.
We are now in 2003. So what I want you to tell me is, where have you been for 2 years?
I've been asking him to help me pay it, and he's been agreeing to help me pay it also.
But he hasn't for 2 years, is that right?
That's right.
Now, tell me about the property that you left behind, Ms. Espinoza.
When I was going to leave him, he did not want me to leave, so he held me down on the bed and told me I was never going to leave him and that it was never going to happen. I then told him I had to convince him to let me leave. He then tried to tell me that I could leave, but without my daughter. If I took my stuff, I couldn't take my daughter. So I decided to try to convince him that I was going to come back, but I just needed some space. I needed some time to get everything that I wanted to do in my life together, because I wasn't...
Good. All right, now I'm getting into this sounds like a soap opera, and I'm not interested in a soap opera. What property did you leave behind?
I had shoes I hadn't even worn. I had all my clothes there. I had all my my schooling papers. I had a lot of pictures of me and my family, of my daughter that I had.
So you're talking about shoes and pictures and papers?
And I also had a lot of stuff, sentimental value stuff that my mom had given to me because she's passed on.
Ms. Espinoza, what do you want back after 2 years, madam?
Well, I know he doesn't have none of my stuff.
So if he doesn't have any of your stuff, what do you want me to do?
I just want something in return for it, because I feel that all this stuff to me was taken away from me.
And you should... Was taken away. Try taken away. Then you should have pursued this case in 2001.
I know.
I don't know what you wait for 2 years for and then say, well, I can't get my papers back and I can't get my pictures back, but I want him to financially compensate me.
Because I was trying to be a nice person. And
then why are you bothering the courts now?
Because he has not been nice to me at all, and I feel like...
He hasn't been nice to you, because that's what happens when people separate. Sometimes they're not nice to each other. Now, I'm giving you 30 seconds about your emotional distress. You got 30 seconds. Tell me about your emotional distress.
When I first met him, I was 16. He was 22. We met each other, and we got together, and I got pregnant, like, almost immediately. When I first
And whose fault was that?
It was both of our faults.
Good. So,
yeah.
Let's go.
And when I told him that I was pregnant, he told me no, he didn't care, he didn't want nothing to do with me. And
is that the emotional distress you're talking about? Well, get to the emotional distress you're talking about, Miss Espinoza.
For 6 years, he put me through everything. I was not allowed to have friends. I wasn't allowed to get a job. I wasn't allowed to basically walk out of the house unless I asked him for permission.
So, how do you think the courts compensate one for that?
I've just been through so much. I haven't been able to do nothing.
So, whose fault is that?
It's my fault. That's
good. Perfect. That's taken care of. It's your fault. It's your fault because just as you walked in the door, you walk out of the door.
Exactly. That's why I'm here right now. Because I don't want to let him get away with this. He's gotten away with a lot of things.
Miss Espinoza, I don't know what you're fabricating in your mind. What do you mean, let him get away with what?
With taking my property and not being able to pay for it. I didn't take nothing of his.
Listen to me. If in December of 2001, you went into small claims court or you went to the police and said, I have to get back into my apartment because I have my clothes and my shoes there and my pictures. They would have taken you. You would have gotten your shoes. You would have gotten your pictures. You would have gotten your papers. Finished. You cannot wait 2 years and say to somebody, now after 2 years, I want to be compensated because I know you don't have my pictures and papers anymore, but because I didn't pursue my rights immediately, now you have to pay the consequences. Do you understand? There comes a time when you have to take responsibility for yourself.
Yes, I understand that.
Good. Now, Mr. Ruiz says that he left you an engagement ring. Is that true?
No. I lost it when we were together.
That's what she says. I don't believe nothing what she told me in the past.
He was with me when I lost it.
Well, tell me where you lost it.
He was taking me to work. I had it on my lap while I was putting lotion on. When I got out of the car, I forgot that I had it on my lap.
When was it?
It was after we separated, maybe like 5 months after we separated.
So you lost it after you separated?
Yes.
Why didn't you give it back to him when you separated?
He proposed to me after I left him, and I told him I didn't want it. I told him to keep it until I said yes. He told me no, to keep it even if I said no.
Is that right?
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
That doesn't sound right to me. Did you ask for it back?
The thing is, she just led me on. We're going to be together, and that's it. She just used me, pretty much. You know, if she didn't really want it.
So the answer is you did not ask for it back?
Yeah, I told her after we split up, yes, I want it back.
When did you tell her you wanted it back?
I probably told her this probably like in November. I want whatever.
November of what?
2002.
So a year later?
Like I said, she spent time. She stayed with me here and there, but it was just being...
So in November you said you wanted the ring back?
Yeah. She said she lost it, and, you know, like I said, I don't believe nothing.
She said she lost it?
Yeah, that's what she said. I don't know what she did with it.
Can I see the credit card bill that you had from December 2001? Mr. Ruiz says that the reason you are pursuing this now is because you recently lost a custody case involving your daughter. Is that true?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Stop being a victim. Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have her story straight.
And later today...
Did anything happen before the engine seized?
The oil light came on, possibly. I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Espinoza says ex-boyfriend Juan Ruiz owes for credit card bills, the return of property, and emotional distress. Juan says Lisa still has the engagement ring.
Listen to me, Miss Espinoza. I want you to tell me about the custody case.
And this past year, I filed for child custody and for child support because he wasn't helping me financially. I was working 65 hours a week.
Just a
to
second.
take care of my
Where
daughter.
was the baby staying?
With me the whole time.
All the time?
Yes.
Not spending time with her father?
She would once in a while when we would go see him. Only when we were together, but he didn't have her by herself.
Then you had a hearing before a judge.
Yes.
What was the outcome of the hearing before the family court judge?
The judge told me that I worked too much, that because...
Can I see a copy of the order? Do you have a copy of the custody
I just
order?
had the mediation, what was agreed on.
What you agreed on?
It was originally ordered I had my daughter 60-40, 4 days and her 3 days. But she was crying and everything, and, you know, I want to do this for my daughter, so I agreed to give her 50% of the time in mediation.
Let me see. Was the original order 60-40? That he had the child 4 days a week and you had the child 3 days a week?
Because of my...
I don't care what it was before. I'm asking you. I can't go into what it was because of. What I'm asking you is, was that the original order?
Yes, it was.
So he had the child 60%, you had 40%, and then you went to mediation that was just resolved. And the parties shared joint legal and physical custody. So now you each have the child 50% of the time. Is that what you wanted?
No, that's not what I wanted.
Well, that's why Mr. Ruiz says that you're pursuing these matters after 2 years.
The reason why I'm pursuing this case is because the judge told me that we weren't married, so I wasn't able to get none of my belongings back.
I'm not interested in your belongings. Do you understand? And don't tell me that you couldn't have gotten any of your belongings out. You could have gotten your belongings out with a police officer. If the shoes didn't fit him, the police would have given you your shoes back. Do you understand?
Your Honor.
And if you had personal papers, the police would have given you your personal papers back if you went back into the house. You chose not to do that 2 years ago.
No, because I didn't want my daughter seeing the cops doing nothing to him. There's plenty of times that the cops that came to the house when
Madam,
he threw me around.
Listen to me very carefully. I don't believe what you're saying to me, because from December 2001, when you say you left, up until 2002 in November, according to both of you, you did sort of see each other off and on.
And that's why I left him for sure.
So that you could have gotten your shoes and your personal papers. You had plenty of time to do that. Stop being a victim. Okay? Be a grown-up. You have a 6-year-old child.
Your Honor, she said that she had emotional distress and pain and suffering since 2002. Every time we go to court, she doesn't have her story straight.
I have her story straight. Tell me about the ring that you gave her, Mr. Ruiz.
Yes.
Tell me when you gave it to her. Under what
I
circumstances?
gave it to her on Christmas Eve, I believe.
What year?
2001.
You said you broke up Christmas 2001.
Yeah, we did.
So how come you gave her the ring Christmas Eve?
Well, I don't know. I was dumb. I was, straight up.
Well, what did you say to her when you gave her the ring Christmas Eve 2001?
I asked her to marry me.
And what did she say to you?
She said yes. She goes, right now I need some space because her mom was sick, this and that. Okay, whatever. She said, but she does want to marry me. That's what she told me.
What did you use this credit card for?
Every time we needed money together, we would just pull it out of the ATM, just money straight out.
So you used it for joint bills?
Yes.
Good. I want you to tell me about the agreement that he made, if any, to pay you back for this. Did he say he was going to pay you back, and when?
Yes, he told me all the time.
Tell me when he agreed to pay you back.
Right when before we'd go get the money out, he would tell me that he was going to pay it off because I was not allowed to work, I was not allowed to get a job, so there was no way for me to pay it.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you that if you're living together and you have a child, that each time you would go and get money out of an ATM, he would say to you, I am going to pay back this amount because you're not working, because I don't want you to work, and I'm working, so each time we go, I'm going to pay you back.
Yes, he did say this.
I don't believe you, Miss Espinosa.
I'm telling the truth. I know I was right there, and that's what he was.
I don't believe you. In any event, I suggest you go find the engagement ring and sell it. Maybe that'll help pay off the bill. Listen to me, madam. You have to put a period. Just because one lawsuit didn't turn out the way you wanted it to 2 years later. I don't buy it, Miss Espinosa. I'm sorry. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's just very controlling. He's very manipulating.
I'm happy.
For 6 years, I was 16. I didn't know what I was doing.
All I gotta do is tell the truth, and that's what happens.
He started throwing me around. He slammed my leg in the door.
You know, I pushed her around before, but I never hit her or nothing like that.
Socked me. I hope he gets what he deserves.
I just hope she leaves me alone and go on with her way, and that's it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Pappas versus Aldern. Step forward, please.
Mortgage broker Corliss Pappas is suing her daughter's former friend, 19-year-old student Kelly Aldern, for the cost of a new car engine. Corliss says Kelly drove the car with the oil light on.
Miss Pappas, you are the owner of an automobile. I assume this is your daughter.
Correct.
Your daughter goes to college? Mm-hmm. And she, without asking your permission, loaned your car to the defendant and this young lady for the purposes of making a trip. A long trip, 700 miles? Mm. The car broke down on the way home from the trip, and it is your claim that the defendant should pay for half of the cost for repairing the car. The defendant says that the car broke down and it wasn't her fault.
Correct.
Okay. You don't know what happened with the car because you weren't there. Is that right?
That is true.
And your daughter doesn't know what happened with the car because your daughter wasn't there.
That would be true.
This young lady, who was also in the car, what is your name?
Colleen.
Colleen sent you a check. Step up, Colleen. Why did you send her $800, Colleen?
I wanted to avoid conflict.
Why don't you tell me where you were going when you borrowed the car?
We were going to Iowa.
From where?
From Greeley, Colorado.
How many miles is that trip?
700.
Each way?
Yes.
And the car made it there without a problem?
Yes.
What happened on the way back?
The engine seized.
Did anything happen before the engine seized? Look at me.
The oil light came on possibly a little bit before, but I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. When did you find out that the oil light went on?
Right before the engine broke down, the car broke down.
And who told you the oil light went on?
Kelly was in the middle of telling me.
What did she say to you?
Basically, the oil light's on, and the car broke down right then.
How long had the oil light been on, Kelly?
It had been on for about a second or two, right before the engine seized.
Had you ever had any problems with leaking oil in the car before?
No, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Annie Pappas.
Annie, when you had the car, did you have to put oil in the car frequently?
I put oil in, we serviced it in June, right? Correct. And we put oil in it, how long before? I'm sorry, I didn't know exactly. My dad always put oil in the car for us, so.
How old a car is this?
It's 1990.
The car's 13 years old.
Yeah, so you do put oil in it.
And you have this car at college?
Yes, my mom gave it to me.
So, Ms. Pappas, what makes you think Ms. Aldern is responsible for half of the damage to the car?
2 reasons. First of all, through the talk from these girls at the dorm, the comment was produced saying that they drove for 30 minutes with the oil light on. The second reason is that it's not a seized engine. It was an engine that actually had a rod go clear through the engine. The crankshaft also broke. The entire motor had to be replaced.
Well, what makes you think that that's Ms. Aldern's fault?
I think if an oil light goes on and you drive or don't stop immediately, one would assume that you're not taking care of the car.
What if they were in the middle of a road where they didn't have a gas station?
Then pull over to the side and call for help. They ruined the engine.
How do I know whether or not the same thing might not have happened to your daughter? She doesn't know one thing from another about changing oil. She says, my dad takes care of that.
She does recognize if a light comes on, you stop.
According to Kelly, the light went on a few seconds before the engine seized.
I don't believe that. I don't.
Well, how do I know that? You weren't there.
That's true.
If your theory of the case is, Ms. Pappas, that the person driving the car, that would be Kelly, was negligent because she did not stop immediately and put oil in the car or call for help, then what is your theory with regard to Colleen being responsible? And you insisted that she give you half.
That's a valid point. However, no matter, even if you were in a brand new car and you drove 700 miles, when you stopped to purchase gasoline, you could check on the oil. I just thought people did that.
I don't check my oil every time I go into a gas station. What I'm asking you, Ms. Pappas, is why would you think Colleen would be responsible for half of your cost? She wasn't driving. She's a passenger.
I thought that she would be responsible because when she took the car from Ann, both girls said that if they broke it, they would buy the car. If any damage was created to the car under any circumstances,
oh, well, that's a different story. Did you say that?
We did make an agreement when we took the car. Annie said, if you break it, you buy it, and we did agree to that. But we...
Just a second. That's a horse of a different color. Now, Kelly, but for the fact that you agreed to take care of any damage to the car while it was in your possession, you would not be responsible. But if you said to Miss Pappas, anything that happens to the car, if we break it, we buy it, that means that you're going to take care of it.
Well, we didn't say exactly if anything happens to the car. The understanding was more...
Don't tell me what the understanding was. The words. Just the words.
Okay, the words, Annie said, you break it, you buy it, and we said, okay.
You owe her $800, my dear. You owe her $800. You wouldn't ordinarily. But if she said to you, you break it, you buy it, and you said, okay, you are guaranteeing the return of that car in the same condition that you took it in. Therefore, you owe her $800. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Is suing 20-year-old Nicole Martinez for assaulting her at a party.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. Yeah, it's case number 8 on the calendar in the matter of Montejano versus Martinez.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Montejano, it is your claim that at a party where I conjure up in my imagination there was a lot of drinking going on, that Ms. Martinez assaulted you. You want her to be responsible for your medical bills and for your pain and suffering as a result of that assault. Ms. Martinez indicates in her answer that this was a case of self-defense.
Yes.
First, tell me, on what date was this party you attended?
It was January 11.
2009?
Right.
And at whose home was the party?
It was at Edson's house.
Who's? Keep your voice up.
Edson's house.
Who was that?
Him. I mean, Nicole's
The house
boyfriend.
is actually mine.
You say it was at his house.
Well, I didn't know she lived there. It was.
You live there as well?
It's my house, yes.
Who owns the house?
I do.
And what was he doing there?
He's my boyfriend.
So you own the house.
He lives
with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who invited you to the party?
A friend of ours.
Who?
I can't say her name, but we were invited personally to that party.
What do you mean you can't say her name?
Her name was Alexia.
You know that person?
Absolutely not.
Do you?
I don't, Your Honor.
Was she at the party?
Yeah, she was there with some other friends. We knew Edson from before. We had been to his house a few times and partied. We didn't know he had a girlfriend now.
So you had been to his house before when she wasn't home?
I think he was single back then because we didn't know she lived
Is it the
there.
same house?
She didn't live there before.
Listen to me carefully. Is it the same house you went to before?
Yeah.
How many times had you been to the house?
Probably twice.
Twice, did you say?
Yeah.
Before January of 2009, when were you at the house before?
Yeah.
That doesn't require a yes or a no. That requires a date. Before January 2009, when was the last time you were at the house?
I don't remember. It was probably
a month,
like
2 months,
more
3
than
months,
a year
6
ago.
months. What?
Probably more than a year ago.
How long have you been living there?
For a few months.
This is going to get better. Okay, so January 11th, you were invited by some girl. Now, who did you see? Did you see her when you got there?
Yeah.
What time did you get there?
We got there like around 11.
Who did you go to the party with?
Me, April, and my sister.
Let's go. You got there at 11 o'clock. What happened when you got there?
When we got there, we were dancing, and there was some girls already fighting. They were already fighting. I don't know why, because there was some girls dancing on their table, and I don't know why they were fighting, but they were fighting right in front of me. And we were about to leave, but then they calmed down, so we decided to stay a little longer. So we were just having a good time, partying. Even Edson came up to us and gave us a hug, and he was like, "Hey guys, how are you guys?" And we're like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And
he does that to everybody.
Listen to
and
we don't have a table.
Shh, quiet. How much drinking were you doing, and what were you drinking?
I only had a mixed drink.
What kind of alcohol were you drinking?
It was vodka with like Sprite.
Did you meet any guys there that night? Is not an answer. Did you meet any guys there that night?
Yeah.
Did you end up in the bathroom with one of them?
No.
For sure.
Did you end up in the bathroom with somebody?
No, he wanted to walk me to the bathroom, and I kept telling him to leave.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you ended up in the bathroom with somebody.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the answer. With whom?
I didn't know him.
Who walked into the bathroom first, you or the guy?
I did, and then he followed me.
And after he followed you into the bathroom, who closed the door?
He did.
And what did you do in the bathroom?
I was telling him to get out because I needed to use our bathroom, and I wasn't feeling good, and he wouldn't get out.
Don't look down. Look at me.
And he wouldn't get out, and then that's when they started knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And that's when I told him to get out. I was like, "Get out, get out." And he got out, and I stayed in the restroom because I needed to use the restroom.
That's not true.
Okay. Now let's just take it up to there, Miss Martinez, because I read your answer very carefully. Let's start with knocking at the bathroom door. You were trying to get people out of the house.
Yes, I had gotten overcrowded. Me and him started kicking people out. He was pounding on the door. I came to see what was going on. My lock is one of those you could just stick like a card in and just unlock it. So that's what I did because the door was locked. I unlocked it. She's wrapped in my towels and he has his pants down. So I go, I shut the door. I go, "I'm giving you 5 minutes to get changed and get out of my restroom." I waited. I started kicking more people out. I came back. He had already fled by the time I came back. He ran out as fast as he could. I came in. She's kneeling in my restroom, and she's telling me to hold on. I go, "No. I gave you 5 minutes to put your clothes on, and I asked you to get out, and I asked you nicely, and I didn't do anything." She didn't want to listen. She kept telling me to hold on, so I grabbed her, and I pulled her out of my restroom, and I told her to leave. We then started throwing punches at each other because of the way I pulled her out, and that's when everything had started. Next thing I know, I have 2 other girls come and jump me as well. I have 3 of them on top of me by myself.
You mean these 2 girls?
Those 2.
Okay.
Which I don't know what the 16-year-old was doing at my house or why she would bring a 16-year-old to my house, but she was there.
Who's 16?
She's 17.
What were you doing there? What were you doing there?
We went to, I wanted to go with her, and yeah, we ended up there at the party.
That you didn't go to until 11 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
Who do you live with?
My mom and my dad.
They let you go to a party at 11 o'clock at night?
My parents weren't home that weekend.
Hey.
Sorry.
Our parents weren't home that weekend, so we left.
She just said she was at home with her parents.
How many times do I have to tell you? Don't speak to me.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Don't speak to me sitting down, and don't stand up until I ask you.
Okay.
Understand?
Yeah.
Perfect. So your parents weren't home that night, or the whole weekend?
Yeah.
But you knew it was the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Now you can sit down. Okay, go ahead, Miss Martinez.
All three of them had a full grip of my hair, and I was trying to swing. I couldn't because they had me like literally bent over. And the first thing I grabbed was a bottle, and I swung. I didn't know who I was swinging at. I just swung. I got her. She still kept fighting, and both of them kept fighting. The guys had finally pulled us all apart. April then comes running back in. He steps in the middle of us because she's getting ready to hit me, and she's hitting him, trying to get through him to me. And then that's when more guys come, get her off of him, take her outside, and ask them to leave.
How many people were drunk that night?
I'd probably say 95% of the people that were there.
And that would be including you and including her?
I wasn't, because I was actually watching everything that was going on. Because I'm the owner of the house, I was just kind of patrolling. However, at the end of the night, when all the fight had happened, her sister actually came up to me and said, I really apologize for my sister, but she's really wasted.
That is not true.
Okay. Are you speaking sitting down? Don't get up, I didn't ask you. Not a shouting match here. This is a courtroom.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Montejano says party hostess Nicole Martinez beat her up during a wild night of drinking. Nicole claims she was acting in self-defense.
Okay, tell me your version. Now you're in the bathroom. Now you're in the bathroom. And if you think that I believe that he followed you into the bathroom and nothing was going on there,
I don't even remember that guy taking his
because
pants
you were
off.
wasted, because you drank too much.
Maybe he tried to do something with me while I was using the restroom.
Because you were drunk. Because you drank too much. And you brought, she's your younger sister? Hey, I'm speaking. Now you're trying to talk over me. First I can't hear you, and now you're trying to talk over me. That's your kid's sister?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing you did wrong was to take your sister out to a place you knew you shouldn't have taken her, right?
Right.
Did you let her drink when you were there?
No.
Did you drink anything?
No.
Yeah, baloney.
She didn't drink.
Baloney.
And I wouldn't be making out with the guy in the restroom knowing that my little sister is outside.
Yeah, yes, you would have.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you absolutely would have. For the same reason that you took her out at 11 o'clock at night. Now, give me your version. And I have other things to do today.
I don't remember. Half of what she's saying, it's a lie. Because
I didn't ask you half of what she's saying is a lie. I asked you your version. Hey, you're trying to talk over me again? I asked you to tell me your version of what happened after she told you to get out of the bathroom.
Okay, what happened is...
That you first told me you weren't in with a guy.
No, I did. I told you I was, but I didn't... I never did anything with that guy.
First you told me you weren't. Now let's move on. You're in the bathroom. She tells you to get out of the bathroom. He leaves. Go ahead.
Okay, as soon as he walks out of the bathroom, I start, using the bathroom. And that's when she tried to get me out of the bathroom. And I was like, hold on, I need to use the bathroom. And I didn't know who was knocking the door. When I came out of the bathroom, she just pulled me and started stalking me until I was shocked, like punching me all over the place. And I was shocked. I didn't even have a chance to defend myself.
And
so I remember seeing myself in the floor crying, and then they were telling me to leave, that we were going home already. So when we were walking out, I was like, did she just hit me like that or randomly? Like, I'm shocked. I can't believe she just attacked me like that. So I'm like, who is she? I wanna know who she is. I wasn't looking for a fight. I was just going to confront her. Like, why did she do that? I didn't do anything wrong.
I have the police.
So when we were leaving, she was outside surrounded by all these guys. And it seemed like all they wanted was just fight. Because I went up, I was walking towards her.
Don't tell me what it seems, just tell me what happened.
Well, because when I was walking towards her, she just cracked the beer bottle in my head without even knowing why was I walking towards her for. I wasn't even sure if she was the one that had attacked me in the first place.
You mean you're in a tight area in somebody's house, right outside the bathroom, and you're not sure who it was who attacked you?
Right. I was still, in my mind, I was still looking for the girl that attacked me, and I don't know where she just...
Drunk. As a skunk. Drunk. Go to the hospital?
Yeah.
I want to see the report. And I want to see the police report. Thank you, sir. I don't want the hospital bills. I want the hospital report.
Well, I requested them and they never called me back. They said they were going to give me a call back to go pick them up.
Okay. You told the police officer that when plaintiff came to you, you swung a beer bottle that was in your right hand. Is that right? That's what you told the police. That's what you told the police.
That's what they put down, yes.
No, that's what you told them.
Okay.
And at the police station, you acknowledged that you were wrong and that you shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a start. You had no right to hit her with a beer bottle. You understand that?
I know.
Once somebody tells you to leave their house, you have to leave.
We were leaving.
No. Immediately. You overstayed your welcome. You were in the bathroom doing something you shouldn't have been doing. She wanted you to leave. It's her house. You should have left immediately. That doesn't mean that she has the right to lose it, which she clearly did. And so she has to be responsible. You have no health insurance?
No.
Have any of these bills been paid?
Not yet.
How many stitches did you have?
2.
What was the total amount of your bills?
$6,700.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That should cover some of your medical bills. Now, can we have the next case, please?
This is case number 9 on the calendar in the matter of McKay versus Rodriguez.
22-year-old April McKay is suing Nicole Martinez's boyfriend, Edson Rodriguez, for assaulting her at the party in question.
Have the parties been sworn?
Yes, they have.
Okay. All right. Miss McKay, you were at the party. You were the third member of this triumvirate who went there.
Correct.
And it is your claim that Mr. Rodriguez assaulted you.
Correct.
According to the police, very uncooperative, Mr. Rodriguez.
Correct.
Why were you being uncooperative with the police?
He asked me to remain seated, and I stand up to get some water. That's why that was considered uncooperation.
What, you were dying for a drink?
Well, he asked me to remain seated, and I was upset because of the whole situation, and they just got into a house, and I went to get water. That was it.
You think that I believe that?
I think yeah.
No. How much did you have to drink that night,
I didn't
Mr.
drink
Rodriguez? At all?
At all.
So you tell me, Miss McKay, how he assaulted you.
Basically, it's from the start, just the way their case was earlier. We were there at the party for a while, enjoying our time. We got invited by some friends. Anyway, so I seen Sandra coming out, and this girl, don't remember. But anyway, she came out of the restroom. They started fighting. So I went over there to separate them. And I was trying to separate them as, you know, so she came and tried to help me to separate Sandra and Nicole from fighting. That's when Edson came up to me and grabbed me and said, no, let them fight. Don't, you know, just let them fight. So no, I was telling him I'm not going to let them fight. I'm going to go out and separate them. I want to leave. I'm not here to, you know, have any fights against anybody. So I pulled him apart again. That's when he grabbed me by the hair and started punching me. He dragged me down to the floor and started socking me in my chest. Then, therefore, we both went to the hospital for that. While I was getting dragged down by his fist and he was hitting me on the chest, I heard Sandra screaming and I heard a beer bottle break. I heard screaming. That's when the cops arrived, and that's it. I don't know what happened after that.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, Your Honor, she's 100 pounds, 5 feet tall. If I will beat her up, she will be in the hospital for a couple of weeks.
Oh, you're a big macho guy.
And I know you understand that. Now, according to the police report, it says that 2 male guys were punching her in the stomach, and she just said that, and she didn't admit that. And I have that in writing according to a police report.
Is there another male there?
No, not that I know of.
Can I see a copy of your hospital record?
Sure.
I have the police report out here.
There's that.
You were driving that night, Ms. McKay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have anything to drink that night?
No, Your Honor.
Go ahead, sir. I'm listening to you.
She declared, I mean, according to...
Don't tell me what she declared here. I'm asking you to talk to me. Did you hit her?
No, I don't.
Didn't put your hand on her?
Yeah, I did.
How?
I grabbed her hands so she wouldn't punch my girlfriend, and was trying to control the situation. Then she fell down, and I didn't attack her at any time.
How did she get a chest contusion?
Well, that's a lie.
No, that's according to what the doctor says.
Yeah, she also said...
And that's according to what
Well,
the
she got involved in the fight when my girlfriend was fighting Sandra. I couldn't be back then.
So you mean when all 3 girls were involved in the fight, she could have gotten punched then?
Correct.
So you just pulled her away?
Just pulled her away, trying to control.
Did she fall?
Yes.
Tell me how she fell.
Right when I noticed she wasn't there anymore, I just turned around. I didn't look at her falling, right? It was like 10, 15 people outside trying to control the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
No, over there says that there were two guys attacking
that.
her, which now she declared that's not true.
Yeah, are you trying to tell me what I have to look at in order to evaluate this case?
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
I asked, just tell me what happened. You pulled her off her.
Pulled her off her, trying to control
And she
the
fell.
situation.
I'm not satisfied that Mr. Rodriguez punched you and assaulted you. I think he probably grabbed you and got you off her and you probably fell. But I think there was a whole lot of fighting going on there. And the only one who did something that was actionable was her. Because she knows that when she picked up that beer bottle, took that beer bottle that was in her hand and hit her over the head with it, she knew it was wrong. And she knew it was wrong because she had allowed this group to come into her home and then got angry when this young lady wouldn't leave as quickly as she wanted her to leave. She sort of acknowledges that even in her answer, lost her temper and lost her cool. And she can do that as long as she doesn't do it with a beer bottle. He had nothing to do with it. Your case against Mr. Rodriguez is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Is suing her ex-boyfriend, amusement park technician Jeremy Beebe, for unpaid rent and for destroying her belongings in a fit of rage. Jeremy is countersuing for the return of rent, personal belongings, and a dog.
Now, this is case number 77 on the calendar in the matter of Baumgarth versus Beebe. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Baumgarth, what do you do for a living?
I'm a restaurant manager.
And you, sir?
I'm an industrial technician and a student.
You work full-time?
Yes, Your Honor. I just quit my job to complete my degree, though. I'm in my last year of college.
Degree in?
Business administration.
Where do you go to school?
DeVry University.
According to what I've read in your complaint and your answer, the two of you lived together for about 11 months in an apartment that you leased together. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was a year's lease?
Yes.
According to you, Ms. Baumgarth, the relationship was a stormy one. Over a year ago, you claimed that Mr. Beebe caused some damage to some of your property, your car, because he had a temper tantrum, something else. You want him to pay for that property damage that happened a long time ago.
It was towards the middle of the relationship, towards the end.
Well, no,
he just broke the property.
It was towards the beginning of the relationship. According to what I read here, the summer of 2002. We had an argument, and he started damaging my belongings. And then in August of 2002, he got angry and he bent the emblem on my steering wheel. And you still live together, right?
Yeah, we had a year lease, and that was about 8
You were
months.
still living together, sleeping together,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then in January of 2003, you had another argument. And tell me about that argument that you had in January of 2003.
Well, most of the time we were just arguing whether it be over money or I don't even know what the specific thing we could have been arguing over.
And what day in January was that?
It was January 21st. That was the day I had asked him to leave.
And what happened during that argument?
And it got pretty heated. His actions had scared me, and he had broken the coffee table, which I have.
He broke a glass coffee table?
Yes.
Okay, and how did he break the glass coffee table?
By picking it up and slamming it down the corner of it.
Is that right?
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Well, how did you break the glass coffee table?
What happened was the plaintiff and I were standing beside the coffee table, and as you know, the glass sits on the four corners of the table, and we had somehow pushed the glass aside, and in the middle of us arguing, I reached down. We were still arguing, talking. I reached down, I picked up the glass, I pulled it over to get it back into place, and I just dropped it down, and the corner broke off.
You had to drop it pretty hard.
Actually, I just let go of it, Your Honor.
You certainly didn't place it on the coffee table. You know what
That's
I'm talking
correct.
about?
That is correct.
Right. And that happened during an argument. So that's what happened on January 21st?
Yeah, I was on the other side of the table, and to get to me, he moved the table and broke it.
But that's what happened on January 21st, and you told him to move?
Yes, I asked him to leave that evening, or I would get authorities to make him leave that night.
And then you changed the locks?
No, I didn't change the locks. It was about after Valentine's Day. I had asked someone to take care of my dog overnight, and I had given them the key, and I had lost my key.
January 21st, you asked him to leave, or you would call the police, and he left. So this is what your lawsuit is about. You want him to pay for the remainder of the lease, the month that was left on the lease.
Yes, February's rent.
And for the prior damage that he did, including the glass coffee table.
Yes, and the car, which is a lease. And he said at the time, when we were arguing in the car, and he was speaking with a very violent tone to me at the time when he was punching the emblem on the Honda. I had gotten out of the car because I was scared. Then, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. That's why I kind of, we stayed together a little bit longer because, you know, if you didn't talk to me that way,
Listen to me.
Always
Listen
make
to
us.
me. Not interested what happened in the summer of 2002. That's forgiven by your conduct.
Well, he told me that when he did that, he was sorry and that he would fix it. I said, what are you doing? My car's a lease. I can't afford for you to just break it. He had told me when we were together, don't worry, baby, I'll take care of it. I'll fix it. I'll get it fixed. I broke it. I'll take care of it. Everything when he broke something, he was going to take care of it. And then...
And you stayed.
And...
Listen to me. Are you afraid of him? Are you afraid of him?
He did intimidate me at times.
Are you afraid of him now?
No.
Well, why aren't you afraid of him now?
Because I'm not living with him anymore.
If he has behavior that is irrational, why wouldn't you still be afraid of him?
Because I'm not staying with him anymore.
Okay. All right, now let me get to your counterclaim. Mr. Beebe, your counterclaim is that you kept your dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
Dog that she had given to you as a gift.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition to keeping your dog, you want her to reimburse you for the 10 days in rent. It says 10 days in rent.
Yes, ma'am.
That you paid for the month of January when she threw you out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am. She made me leave on the 21st, and I paid through the 31st.
Okay, so that's your counterclaim.
Along with some belongings.
What belongings?
A dresser, a Soloflex, the rent, and deposit.
What deposit?
We both split a $250 deposit when we initiated the lease.
Is that right?
No. That's with the pet deposit, $250, which I wrote the check. Okay, and he did not give me the money for the deposit because he said, oh, you'll get the money back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
January, February, March, April, May, June. I want you to tell me, sir, what took you so long to come to court to complain about your dog?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teresa Baumgarth says ex-boyfriend Jeremy Beebe owes for smashing her coffee table and damaging her steering wheel. Jeremy claims she took his rat terrier.
Okay, so you originally paid both the security deposit and the pet deposit. So show me checks. You should have checks for $500.
Yes, I have those checks.
I'd like to see them, please.
Okay. Here's their copy of the ledger of every check I wrote. So it says the amount and what check I gave them.
That's a lot of paperwork for that. What you want to show me? Okay.
She circled them.
Security deposit, payments $300. What date did you start your lease?
March 1st. I prorated for a couple weeks, I guess, to move in. So the
and
move-in
what date did you get the dog that we're talking about?
August 28th, I bought the dog.
Sir, her accounts indicate that she paid both the pet deposit and the security deposit.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have proof that you paid?
No, Your Honor.
Good. If you have no proof, then I don't have to listen.
But, Your Honor, if you look at the ledger there, you'll see a trend from the very beginning. When I first moved in with the plaintiff, she requested that she pay for everything with her check and her credit cards to establish her accounts. Everything from food to rent to everything was paid by her, and I gave her the money.
How did you give her the money? In what?
In cash, ma'am.
Cash? Can't help you. Can't help you. Write her a check. It's a good lesson. If you're giving her money, write her a check and say, this is my share of the security deposit, my share of the rent, my share of the food, and if you don't do that, don't come to me fetching. Do you understand? I don't want to hear the complaints. All right. Now let's talk about your dog. Did you buy him a dog as a gift?
No, I did not. I have proof that for his birthday, I bought him another gift.
What'd you buy him?
A very expensive high nine picture.
Okay. I don't want to hear about you.
And I bought it.
You say you bought him a picture. My question to you, Mr. Beebe, is this. You broke up when, sir? In January?
January 21st, Your Honor.
January, February, March, April, May, June. I want you to tell me, sir, what took you so long to come to court to complain about your dog that you love?
I've requested for that dog many, many times, Your Honor.
What took you so long to come, listen to my words, what took you so long to come to court for the dog that you love?
Because she was taking care of the dog, and I just felt that we could take care of it when in my countersuit here.
Mr.
But
Beebe.
in the meantime, yes,
Mr. Beebe, you sound ridiculous. If I woke up one morning and didn't see my dog and knew that my next-door neighbor had my dog in the house, I would be either at the police or at the courthouse the next day saying, I want my dog back. I wouldn't say, well, my neighbor is taking real good care of my dog, and my dog seems to like my neighbor, so I think I'll leave my neighbor there until I get around to maybe 6 months or a year later,
Your Honor,
going to court.
When the plaintiff is claiming...
Beebe, listen to me. Don't make yourself appear more foolish.
That's the last thing I am.
Countersuit was an afterthought. Now, if you want to say to me, she threw me out and I'm entitled to pro rata rent for the 10 days, that's a reasonable thing. She threw you out, you paid your rent, and you should get your money back. You understand? You understand? You threw him out January 21st. You'd already paid January's rent.
Well, had I called the police, they would have made him leave.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You asked him to move, he moved. He's entitled to 10 days' worth of rent back. But your recent attachment to the rat terrier fallen on deaf ears.
Yes,
and your request for your half of the security deposit, proof of which you have deaf ears. But you are entitled to 10 days' worth of rent. Now,
And
10 days' worth
Your
of rent comes to, according to you, $133. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, do you also, Miss Baumgarth, have his dresser and his sports equipment?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
I could not move it, so I left it at the apartment place. I had asked the defendant and called him numerous times. When he moved out, I was at work. Like, he just took his clothes that night, and then about mid-February got a U-Haul and then moved the rest of his stuff.
Okay,
so
in mid-February, whenever it was, at some time after January 21st, did you come to the apartment and move some of your property?
Yes, Your Honor. Two of the 3 times I came, I was not able to get into the apartment.
I don't care, but one of the times you were able to get into the apartment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. And what property did you take with you?
Everything but the dresser and the Soloflex.
Why didn't you take those 2 things?
Because the U-Haul was full. I got the biggest U-Haul. I couldn't fit nothing else. I made arrangements with her to come back and pick up the 2 other items. She would not let me in. She changed the locks, and I could not get into my own apartment.
That was in?
That was in the beginning of February, Your Honor.
February, March, April, May, June. Shh. Do you live there anymore?
I lived there till the
Do
end of
you
March.
live there anymore? She doesn't live there anymore. The lease is over. Sir,
Well, my belongings were left in her custody, Your Honor.
that's your fault. Go to court.
I am in court, Your Honor.
No, you waited, sir, too long. What did you expect her to do with your belongings in March when she moved out, when the lease was up?
Your Honor, I expected to pick them up in the beginning of February, like
Then
we
you
arranged.
go to court or you go to the police station and say, I need a police escort to pick up my things. She let you into the apartment. You didn't get a big enough U-Haul. If they have a U-Haul, sir, that you can rent that are big enough to move the Empire State Building. The fact that you chose to rent a little one is nobody's fault but your own.
I rent the biggest one, Your Honor, the biggest one.
No, sir. Listen to me. Impossible. They have vans that you can rent. Chose not to do it, fine. You're entitled to your rent back. You, madam, are entitled to this. You are entitled to the replacement for that glass. Now, you want to tell me how much you paid for that glass?
I got an estimate for, I bought the coffee table, but to replace just the glass, I had
Just
an
the
estimate.
glass?
Yes.
You want to just tell me what the estimate is?
It's $240 plus $65 delivery charge.
240 plus 65, unless he wants to rent another U-Haul and bring it over.
No.
Equals 305. 305 minus 133, which would be your share of the rent that you would have otherwise been entitled to had you not had a hissy fit on her coffee table, equals $172. Case is over.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ladies are excused. You may step out.
I think she's angry. I think she's jealous of my life and lifestyle.
That was the final straw when he put his hands on me. You know, you can break stuff and act upset and violent, but, you know, that was sort of the final straw.
I think she was making me out to be a violent tyrant, and I'm nothing but a professional.
He just has no morals, or he's not a real man. He can't pay his bills, so.
I've given her the utmost respect during the times we were together, and she's just vindictive.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Guion versus Wilson. Step forward.
24-year-old legal assistant Long Guion is suing her former friend, landscaper Patrick Wilson, for the cost to paint her car bumper. Lon says the car was egged while in his care.
Miss Jiang, the defendant is your boyfriend's friend?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he borrowed your car during a week's time that you were going to be out of town, and that while the car was in his possession, it got egged. And because that substance is so caustic, it ate away the paint on the car, and you have to have your car painted.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson does not deny that the car was egged. He does not deny that it was egged while it was in his possession, although you didn't see it happen, right?
Correct.
He says that he parked it in the same place that you parked it at, and that it's not his fault. You should have had insurance to cover it, right?
Yes.
But there's another wrinkle in this case. According to you, he gave you $50.
Yes, Your Honor.
There's your problem, Mr. Wilson. Did you give her $50?
Yes, I did.
So that you gave her $50 to lease her car, to rent her car for the week.
For the use of it, yes.
So I want you to think of Miss Guiang as Hertz, budget, dollar. She's a rent-a-car.
Okay.
If I left anybody out. Avis, I mean, I want to be ecumenical. Dollar, whatever. She is a rent-a-car.
Okay.
Have you ever rented a car?
Yes.
And when you rent a car, you either decline insurance or you pay for insurance.
Yes.
If you pay for insurance, that means pay a little extra. That means anything that happens to the car while it's in your possession is covered.
Right.
If you decline insurance, who's responsible if something happens to that car?
I am.
Right. Now, if you merely borrowed her car, there would have to be a demonstration that something happened to her car as a result of negligence. Your negligence. But you didn't borrow her car. You rented it. You got to pay for the damage. It's your fault.
Okay.
Can I see the damage to the car, please? I'm glad he understood. I'm glad Mr. Wilson understood. Who are you?
I'm Patrick's friend, Tracy. I'm a witness.
A witness to what?
I helped clean the car basically the day we think it happened. I showed up to his house that evening right after he got off of work, just went over there after I got off of work, and he was pretty much in the process of getting ready to go clean the car.
Was it egged on the back of the car? Is that where it was egged?
Yes.
Pretty much on the back?
Yes.
Pretty much just on the bumper, is that right?
I did not see...
Well, it looks to me like the damage is on the bumper.
It's on the bumper.
It's on the bumper. And how much is it going to take to fix this bumper, to repaint the bumper?
I have two estimates.
Can I see it, please? Is this a new car?
Yes, ma'am.
Looks pretty new to me. $50 is a good deal. Should have cleaned it really, really thoroughly. Rear bumper, $1,094. Mr. Wilson, it's your nickel, sir.
Okay.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Why is our excuse? You may step out.
Although it was...
is suing his former live-in girlfriend, 24-year-old Laura Weathers, for rent and utilities. Jonathan says while he was in Iraq, Laura didn't pay their bills.
All rise. Now, this is case number 278 on the calendar in the matter of Pasquinelli versus Weathers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Bird,
Yep.
would you get the defendant a sweater, please, or have her go outside and get herself a sweater?
Okay.
She looks cold to me. We'll be with you in a moment, sir. Oh, that's much better. Much, much better. Mr. Pasquinelli, according to your complaint, you and Miss Weathers lived together for a period of time. You rented an apartment together, you were splitting the bills. And then you were deployed to the Gulf.
Yes.
And it was your arrangement with the defendant that she was going to stay in the apartment, that you would continue to pay half the rent, and she would pay half the rent, and she would pay all the utilities since she was living in the apartment.
Yes.
You returned from the Gulf and found that she had not paid the rent, that the utilities were never paid, and according to you, she owes you a bundle of money.
Yes.
The defendant says that she only lived in the apartment for 5 months after you left, and you agreed to cover her rent because she was a little short, and in addition, she never received the utility bills. They went directly to your parents' house. That's your defense?
That's correct.
All right. When did you move into the apartment together, Miss Withers?
November.
What was your financial agreement?
That we would split the rent and the utilities while he was
How much was
away.
your share of the rent?
$675.
Is that correct, sir?
No, it was actually $575.
And how long did you pay the $575?
Up through January, February.
Through January. When were you deployed to the Gulf, sir?
January 17.
Now, what about the utilities? Did you pay half of the utilities up until he went away?
I did.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, she did.
Now, how did your agreement change, Miss Weathers, when he left for the Gulf and he was no longer living there?
I actually ended up getting a DUI because my truck broke. I had a tire. It was a brand new truck, and he had said that while I was paying my $3,000 lawyer and all my fines and my truck, that I wouldn't have to pay and that we would do it. I would get it back to you eventually.
And what?
That it was until I was able to. I could just pay what I could.
Was there a full sentence there someplace that I didn't hear?
I don't know how to break it down exactly.
Try speaking in a full sentence, you know, with a beginning and a middle and an end and a start and a finish.
I would just pay what I could when I could.
There you go. That wasn't hard, was it?
It was fine.
So how much did you pay?
$300.
When did you deposit $300?
February.
Show me.
I know he has his bank statement he can prove. I even called his mother to get his bank information.
Well, if you called his mother to get his bank information, that means that what you were doing is you were paying the entire rent out of his bank account. Is that right?
Oh, before he left, he gave them checks in full.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was she supposed to pay her half?
I left her deposit slips from my bank account to deposit it directly into my checking account.
So it was all taken out of your bank, and
Yes.
she never deposited any money. She says in February she deposited $300. I'm just curious. Do you have any indication of that?
I don't, but I will say that's true. She did deposit that money.
So your agreement now, according to you, now that we got a full sentence, Ms. Withers, was that when you could, you would pay him back.
That's correct.
After the $300, when did you start paying him back?
I didn't.
Why?
Because we were talking, and it was just pretty much that whenever I could pay it, I would, and at the time, I couldn't. So eventually, you know, we would just come out in the end. I have an email.
There's a sentence there.
It's coming.
There's a sentence there. I know it's coming.
It's coming. I have an email. There's the sentence from him.
I have an email. That's perfect. 4 words. Sounds just about right.
So, just basically him saying that he knows that I can't pay it, and eventually we will get through it.
Well, that's pretty much what you said. I don't know what was awesome. Something was awesome before we got to the rent.
Oh, we did thousands of emails, so the headlines were a little wacky.
Oh, I see. And he does indicate here, I know you are trying and doing what you can, and I know you'll get me when you can. So, what are you doing now, Miss Withers?
Now I don't understand.
What are you doing now?
In regard to paying him back?
In regard to your life, what are you doing?
I'm an accountant.
An accountant, that's a good thing. So you deal in numbers.
Correct.
And who do you work for?
I was working for Quintera. Right now I'm in between.
How are you supporting yourself again?
Well, unemployment.
Who is this?
This is Anthony.
Anthony. I assume Anthony has a last name?
Palazzo.
And what does Anthony do?
He's also an accountant. He's my boyfriend.
Do you live together?
Correct.
So now you're paying the bills?
Yes.
Not like that at all. This is...
Just a second. Good for you.
That's not the case. Don't make it look like that, because that's not the case.
Looks like the case to me. Looks like he went overseas. I'm sure it wasn't easy over there, and he's expecting you to do the right thing. Instead of doing the right thing, you got yourself drunk. You had an accident with your car. It's not his fault that you had to pay $3,000 in lawyers and fines and everything else that you had to pay because of your own irresponsible behavior while he was away. And so my question is, when do you expect to start paying him back? He expected you to pay him back.
Actually, before he did this, I'd set it up where I would be paying him $300 a month, and he was okay with it. And the next thing I know, I'm getting this in the mail. Right after we had had a phone conversation, I had given him $100 just for that week because he had come back.
What did she say when she gave you the $100?
She didn't deliver it to me. Her boyfriend did.
And what did he say?
He didn't really say much.
Stand up. Anthony.
Yes.
What did you say when you delivered the $100?
I was just the carrier. I was just dropping it off, gave him $100.
Good. So you had a conversation with Miss Withers. Is that right?
Correct.
And what did Miss Withers tell you about the $100?
She said that she owed him $100, drop it off after work. And on my way home from work, I just dropped it off, didn't have any conversation.
Anthony.
Yes.
If my girlfriend with whom I was living, or my boyfriend with whom I was living, said to me, here, take $100 to my ex-boyfriend, I owe it to him, I would ask, what for? Unless you're a drone and just do things as you're told.
No, I knew she owed him money.
Okay. Now,
but
what did you... Stop speaking.
Okay.
You knew she owed him money.
Yes.
Is that because she told you she owed him money?
Yes.
And how much money did she say she owed him?
She did not tell me exact amount.
What did she tell him she owed the money for?
She didn't tell me either. I just
And
knew.
you didn't ask?
I didn't ask.
You are some inquisitive guy.
Thanks. Thanks.
You're only interested in the important things, right?
That's correct.
Oh, that's right. I'm not going there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, you, Anthony, look like a relatively normal person. So don't play games with me, sir. Do we understand each other?
We do.
You don't want me to embarrass you, do you? I'm capable of it, you know.
And later today...
2:30 in the morning is not an appropriate time to go visiting, sir.
It's a booty call, Your Honor.
What?
It's a booty call. She always calls
Don't be smart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jonathan Pasquinelli says former live-in girlfriend Laura Weathers owes for rent and bills while he was deployed in Iraq.
Anthony, what do you do for a living, sir? You're an accountant?
I'm actually a financial advisor.
So you're not a dummy, right?
No, I'm not.
If my girlfriend said to me, I owe my ex-boyfriend money, you would say, what do you owe money for, honey? How much do you owe him? Did you have a payment schedule? What are you going to do? Those are the questions that a normal person would ask. Now, you, Anthony, look like a relatively normal person. Yeah. So don't play games with me, sir. Do we understand each other?
We do.
You don't want me to embarrass you, do you?
No.
Any more than I have done already? I'm capable of it, you know.
Okay.
Now, when did you have a discussion with her about how much and what she owed him the money for?
We really never discussed how much she owed. I just knew that she owed him money, and that was it. I didn't really want to know how much. I didn't want to get involved because I didn't want to get in the middle between money because I know how people act around money, so.
You didn't want to be responsible.
Correct.
Now, Anthony.
Yes.
That's smart.
Thank you.
Because if you say, how much do you owe, and she tells you, the temptation might be there to say, let me give it to you because I don't want you to have any connection with him anymore.
Correct.
So you didn't do that.
I didn't want to know. And
why didn't you want to know, Anthony?
Because I didn't want to know how much it was. It could have been a lot, it could have been a little. I didn't want to know.
Well, you said I didn't want to know 3 times, and so I'm asking you, why didn't you want to know? Weren't you curious?
No.
Weren't you a little curious?
I was not. Not at all.
When were you deployed, sir? In January?
January 17.
When did you get home?
July 31st.
So she was there ostensibly for 5 months, is that right?
I don't know when she left.
I don't care when she left. She was there for 5 months.
Fine.
That she owes you money for. And she owes you $2,875. Now, tell me about the utility bills.
When I got home, I had a $617 gas and electric bill.
Can I see it, please? What were you doing there?
I wasn't even there.
You're making wine? What were you doing?
I have no idea. I
Actually,
wasn't.
this is gas and electric also. And these are unopened. Just, I didn't know if...
Can I see the unopened ones,
Yes.
please?
This is actually cable, which I'm not allowed to have cable in San Diego anymore because the bill's never
Okay.
paid.
You live at 9215?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and these were sent to 9215? Well, she paid you $300, so I'm deducting that from the $28.75, leaving $25.75. And here is a bill. Ooh, past due, date mailed, May 3rd. You would still be there, right?
No, I moved out in the beginning, in the beginning of May. I wasn't there.
Well, this is mailed on May 3rd, so you owe $574.27 for this. Cable.
I tried disconnecting that because, number one, I'm not home. Number two, we have no computer, which we needed internet for. And because my name wasn't on it, I couldn't disconnect it.
Why didn't you email him?
Name's on the bill.
Shh. Why didn't you email him and tell him?
No, that's the time.
Listen to me. Why didn't you email him and tell him to cancel it?
I did. I had emailed
Show me.
him.
Show me.
I don't have that email.
Anthony,
Yes.
where were you working in May?
In May, I was working at Quintera.
And where was she working?
Quintera.
Also.
That's how I met him.
So that's how you met, in May. When did she move in with you, Anthony?
I would say
In July.
Jump! Didn't ask you. I
June.
asked him.
beginning of June.
So from May, whatever, when you moved out until you moved in with Anthony here, where were you living?
I was just staying at friends as I was going back and forth because it was closer to my house.
What house?
Or not my house, but to my work. It was just easier because I lived pretty far from work.
Ever been married, Anthony?
No.
Don't do this one.
You getting the drift?
I do.
You do get, I know that you get it, Anthony. I'm looking at your eyes.
She went wine tasting and forgot to pay the bill in February.
I didn't go wine
Listen.
tasting.
You told
Sir, listen to me. Very
there was
carefully.
a $69 late payment on that bill.
$3,688.
Sounds good to me.
Very good. And say, who is this young lady?
This is my sister.
Very nice young lady, very nice.
Thank you.
Say, thank you. I got home safely, right?
Yes.
I didn't make any big mistakes over there, and I didn't make any big mistakes over here. Got it?
Got it.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are executed. You may step out.
I felt it was falling apart the second week we moved in together.
It's over, it's done with, and we don't need to start talking schmack.
I just hate that he has such a big heart and he was taken advantage of.
They said there's food left out. They said it was just disgusting looking. They said it was unfit for living.
He's emailing me now, trying to break us up.
It's over, it's done with. I just want him out of my life. I want to just be done with it, through.
She's nuts.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lane versus Eberspacher. Step forward.
27-year-old Lisa Lane is suing her ex-boyfriend, 27-year-old Scott Eberspacher, for the cost to fix her bedroom window. Lisa claims Scott was trying to wake her up by throwing rocks.
All right, Lisa, how long were you dating Scott here when he made this nocturnal visit to your house?
About a month and a half.
Who do you live with?
I live with myself and my son.
And Scott was supposed to be over, according to your complaint, at about 10 o'clock that evening. Or he's
Right.
supposed to be over that evening, and he shows up at what time, Scott?
I got there around approximately 2:20 in the morning.
Why?
There was no set time, Your Honor.
How old is her child?
He would be 4.
There was no set time?
He was supposed to be
2:30
there
in the morning is not an appropriate time to go visiting, sir.
It's a booty call, Your Honor.
What?
It's a booty call. She always calls
Don't be
late.
smart.
He's supposed to be
Just
there
a
before
second.
9.
Don't be... Listen, when I speak to you, you'll answer me.
Right.
According to your complaint, he was supposed to be there at 10. He wasn't there at 10. You locked the doors. He came 2 o'clock in the morning, rang the bell, whatever. You didn't answer. So he went to your window and he threw a rock at your window to get your attention. He got your attention. He broke the window. He came in. You spent the night together. Later on, you said, I want him to pay for the window.
I didn't know the window was broken.
All
until the
right.
next
Later
morning.
on, they found the window broken and you want him to pay for the window. That's what the case is.
I have a videotape showing a scenario of how he did it.
I don't care how he did it. You're not dating him anymore?
No.
What does that mean? That was a hesitation.
No, I do not date him anymore. He's too irresponsible.
So you haven't... When was the last time you saw him, Miss Lane? Is not an answer, madam.
I don't remember. It was like a month or so ago.
And when did this incident happen?
It was after the window was broke, because we joked about it, because he didn't really mean to break the window.
When did he break the window?
In April.
Okay. She says you broke the window, sir.
I didn't break the window, Your Honor.
I have the text message where he says he'll pay for it.
Oh. Is that dated?
Yes.
Okay. Show it to Bird, because he is my electronic... I'm speaking. He is my electronic genius.
And so, if you just want to give that to the judge, then...
No, he doesn't give it to me. He's my electronic eyes and ears.
Scott Gold, you want me to find, but I say that this is why you pay association and insurance. I will probably never talk to you again if you want to go that route, so it's up to you.
What's the date of that?
May...
Just go to the date.
May 29th.
Very good. And did you fix the window?
Yes, I did. And I have pictures of when it was broken.
I'd like to see the picture.
And I have the actual rocks, too. Here's the receipt, and here's the pictures when it was broken. Do you want the rocks?
You want the rocks?
No. Stick the rocks back where they were. These are the best pictures you could take.
I took a video flicks on my camera phone, and that's the best that we could come up with for a still shot. But I have the videotape right here that
I'm not interested in it.
Okay.
April 27th at 2:20 a.m. is when I went over to Lisa's house. And at that time, when I did, in fact, I tossed a ball, and then I tossed a very tiny pebble the size of a dime. Did not break the window. Matter of fact, the next morning when she had walked out, we walked out together, there was no broken glass or anything to my appearance or her appearance.
That's not English, to my appearance or to her appearance.
Okay. To my knowledge and to her knowledge, there was nothing broken.
Don't tell me about her knowledge. So your knowledge,
okay. To my knowledge, there was
no
nothing
broken window. Well,
correct.
Then your knowledge is limited. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $360. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Wow.
April Thomas is suing her cousin's ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old health aid worker Tiffany Johnson, for vandalism to her 2000 Dodge Neon. Tiffany is countersuing, claiming April vandalized her Kia Optima.
Come to order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Aye. Your Honor, this is case number 255 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Johnson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Anybody who's been to court before, raise your hand. Were you a litigant?
No, traffic court.
And you?
Criminal court.
Criminal court. Mm-hmm. I assume you weren't a prosecutor.
No.
Right?
No.
Good. So we all know what court's about. Court's about telling the truth.
Truth.
So that's what we're going to do today, right, ladies?
Yes.
I have cross complaints. Each of you claim that the other damaged their car purposely by breaking windows. And each of you say, I didn't do her window, and I didn't do her window.
I didn't do her window.
I didn't do her window.
She has a child with him.
No.
With who?
With my cousin. He's not here.
Where is he?
He's in jail.
Ah! He's in jail. A testament to your good judgment.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, there was some sort of altercation involving the two of them, your cousin and his then ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child. And since then, there's been some bad blood between the two of you. So I want you to tell me when you claim she damaged your car, where the car was, and who witnessed it.
Okay. My car was at my house in my driveway. It was about 5:30 a.m. I don't have the specific date. I know it was in July. I wasn't there. I have a witness that says that shows everywhere where I was at. That says
which one is the witness?
She's the witness to who I was with, and he's the witness that's seen her damage my car.
Well, I don't care who you were with. I'm not your social secretary. I just want to know who saw her damage your car.
Okay, he saw her damage my car, Rick.
Okay, step up. Tell me your name.
My name is Rick Howard.
How do you know her, Rick?
I used to work with her a couple years ago.
And what were you doing up at 5:30 in the morning on this date in July that we don't remember?
Smoking a cigarette.
Where?
On her balcony.
What were you doing in her house?
She went out of town, so I was staying there house sit because she had problems with. She has problems with her neighbors, so I was staying there.
So you got up very early, you went out on the balcony to smoke a cigarette.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you see?
I heard an alarm go off, so I went downstairs because I thought it was my car, because my car's been stolen before. When I ran downstairs and I turned the corner, I seen Tiffany standing behind the car, like with a blunt object in her hand.
With a what?
Blunt object.
And did you know Tiffany before?
I don't know her, but I know of her.
No. When you say you know of her, had you seen her before?
Yes.
No. Where had you seen her before?
At a high school.
How many years ago?
About 4 years ago.
And you hadn't seen her in 4 years?
No.
Get to you in a minute.
Okay.
What did you say to her?
I was like, hey. I just yelled out, hey.
And when you yelled out A, what did she do?
She left.
How did she leave?
She got in her car.
What kind of car?
A white car.
So what did you do?
I went back upstairs.
Well, didn't you go and look to see what happened to her car?
Nah, I figured that the window was broken because I heard the window break. So I went back upstairs.
What do you mean you figured that the window was broken? You mean you didn't go over to look at the car?
No.
You figured it wasn't your car, you didn't have any...
No, it wasn't that it wasn't my car. It was just that I heard the window break. So she had an object in her hand, so I figured that the window was broken. So I went back upstairs to get my phone, and then I came back downstairs.
When you got your phone, who did you call?
I called April.
Where was she?
Somewhere in the Bay Area.
And you told her what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Did you call the police?
Another lady who was standing across the street, I called the police.
Did the police arrive that day?
Yes, I did.
Did you speak to the police?
Yes, I did.
Did you give them a description of the person that you saw?
Yes.
Did you tell them who it was?
Yes.
You told them by name?
Yes.
Did you get the name from Miss Thomas, or did you get the name from knowing her yourself from high school?
Thomas told me her name from a picture, because she has a picture of her in her house.
So when you told her somebody just came and busted the window out of your car, and they had a white car, and she said to you it must have been Miss Johnson, is that right?
She didn't say it must have been Miss Johnson. Like, she looked familiar from the pictures that she has in her house, and that's how I recognized her, other than I knew her from high school.
What are you doing with a picture of her in your house?
I have a picture of her and her son at my house. We have like a lot of family gatherings, and she comes because her son is included in our family. And when we were tight, we used to take pictures, and I'd keep them in my house. And even though that they're not together, that's still his mother, so I would have the pictures.
Okay. Now, Miss Johnson, let's get to you.
Okay.
Nope, I didn't ask you a question yet. Don't start. You may be seated. Now, it is your claim that Miss Thomas busted a window in your car.
Yes.
When do you claim she did that?
And this was in June. I never seen him a day in my life.
I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you about your car.
Okay, this is the real story. We was at a club. We went to a
Listen
club
to me.
in June.
I'm in charge here.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't call the police?
No.
You didn't speak to her afterwards and say, you better fix my car?
No.
You mean you just got even?
No, but she's trying to say...
No. I asked you a question.
No.
I think you did.
And later today...
Who should pay for his window?
They weren't antagonizing the situation.
I'm asking you who should pay for the window.
They should pay for it.
Who's they?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. April Thomas says her cousin's ex-girlfriend, Tiffany Johnson, vandalized her Dodge Neon by breaking her window. Tiffany says April did the same thing to her car.
In what month do you claim she damaged your car?
June 25th.
What time on the 25th of June?
Like 12:30 to 1 o'clock.
In the morning?
No, at nighttime. Yeah, morning, yeah. It is morning.
Where was your car?
At a club.
So tell me what happened.
I was parking. My cousin pulled in first. I was parking my car. And as I was parking my car, Miss Thomas jumped in front of my car and told me I cannot park here. She is saving this park for my friend, and she's on the freeway to get there.
So you're moving into a spot. She blocks the spot, and she says, I'm saving it.
Yes.
And you said?
You can't save a park. You can't stand and save a park. It's free parking. My car was, I was so close to hitting her for her just standing in front of my car. So I just parked my car and got out. And she started...
Just a second. So she's standing in the parking space, and you said, well, you're going to get run over, but I'm parking here.
Yes.
So you parked there in the spot.
Yes.
Okay, and she ultimately moved out of the way.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
It was my friend's birthday. That's how I remember the date, because we were all going out. And as I got out my car, she's talking about, you don't want it like this, or you already know about these hands. You don't want to see nobody in my family. We just started talking a lot, talking about, I don't want this, and I just walked away. So we walked down the street by the clubs. Then we walked to Old Sacramento, and I just had a funny...
Holy. You went to the club. What happened when you got to the club?
We didn't go in because it was about to close anyways.
And from there you went back to your car?
I went to Old Sacramento, walked to Old Sac.
I don't know where that is, nor do I really care. When did you go back to your car?
In like 20 minutes.
20 minutes after you parked your car and had this altercation with the plaintiff, you went back to your car. And what did you find when you went back to your car?
1,000 pieces of glass broke all over my driver's window. And it was so many people out there telling me, the girl that you just got...
Tell me what anybody else said. Driver's window?
Yes.
What window of your car was broken?
My back windshield.
Okay, so you found your window broken?
Yes.
Now, other than the fact that you had had this altercation with her about the parking space,
yes,
did anyone else who was here today witness her damaging the car?
Crystal.
Crystal. I'm going to take your testimony, Crystal. Step up. Crystal, how do you know Miss Johnson?
I don't know her.
Where do you work?
I stay at home with my son.
And what were you doing at 1 o'clock in the morning on June 25th?
I was going to the club, too.
Who were you going with?
Some friends.
Tell me what you saw.
Okay, Tiffany had pulled up. April jumped in front of her, told her she couldn't park, and then Tiffany parked anyways. Got out of the car, started walking off. April started yelling at her. Tiffany walked off. One of April's friends had pulled up a couple minutes later, and they had got in the car, drove off, came back like a few minutes later. April had got out of the passenger side, threw something at Tiffany's car, and jumped in the car and took off.
And how come you stayed around the parking area that long?
Because I was sitting in the car across the street talking to some friends.
How did it come about that you met Miss Johnson and told her what happened to her car?
Well, we were still there when she come walking back.
So you told her what you saw?
Yeah.
Did you call the police, Miss Johnson?
No.
How come?
It was late at night. I just knew it was her. That's why I didn't even call the police, because I didn't even think it would go this far with me and her. I know April for a long time.
Well, did you call her the next day?
No, I asked her cousin, my son's dad, told me that she was going around the family acting like she done something very well. And he was mad because all the glass that was in my car, my son cut his hand.
So you mean you didn't call the police?
No.
And you didn't speak to her afterwards and say, you better fix my car?
No.
I don't understand that. You mean you just got even?
No, but she's trying to say...
No. I asked you a question.
No.
I think you did.
Okay, I did.
That's my girl. That's it.
Yeah.
You didn't get mad.
No.
You got even.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like when it works.
Like it when it works. Right?
Yep.
Very good. So how much did it cost you to fix your window?
Can I add that also she must have stuck something in my door lock because it doesn't turn anymore.
How much did it cost? Listen.
I'm listening.
How much did it cost to fix your window?
It was $344 for the window, and it came to $253 for the tint.
For the what?
The tint on the window is tinted black.
Why?
Because all my windows are tinted black to keep the sun out.
$344, is that right? It cost you to fix the window?
Yes.
How much did it cost you to fix your window?
$300, and I had to get a rental car because I have to wait till my window to come in.
It cost you just about the same amount of money.
Yes.
Right? Did you both feel good afterwards?
No.
Mama? Did you feel good?
I didn't do anything.
Oh,
sure you did.
Yes, you did.
Of course you did.
She's a devil in disguise.
Of course you did. Now, my only problem with both of you is, I mean, you're acting like children.
Yeah.
Which is, shh. You're acting like children. And the only problem that I have with both of you is, why do you visit your childish behavior on the court system? Why do we have to become involved in your childish behavior? You both did something wrong. It ends up costing you both money, right?
Yeah.
Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
Excuse me, you may step out.
I didn't think it would come this far with her breaking my window. I admitted that I went back and broke hers.
She thinks that I broke into her car when I didn't, so it's just plain out ignorance.
I guess she want to be like me, but she can't.
You can see that she's ignorant. She doesn't know the day from night, from 12 a.m. to 12 noon.
I'm cuter than her.
She is just really anal and acts like a true baby mama. We would call it ghetto.
Her attitude is ugly, just like her face.
She's a sloppy CH.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Terry versus Barnes. Step forward, please.
General contractor Stephen Terry is suing his neighbor, 24-year-old restaurant manager Roger Barnes, for throwing a rock through the front window of his house. Roger says Stephen's brother was antagonizing him.
Mr. Terry, Mr. Barnes is your neighbor. It's your claim that on a particular date, which you'll tell me in a moment, he came to your house, he was drunk, he took a rock, he threw it through your window, you want him to pay for the window. Mr. Barnes says it wasn't a rock that broke your window, it was his jacket that broke your window and its heavy buttons, so he's not paying for your window, right?
Right.
What date did he break your window?
It was St. Patrick's Day this year.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Are you Irish?
Nope.
But you celebrate with the Irish?
Yeah.
Were you celebrating on St. Patrick's Day?
Yes.
Were you a little drunk?
A little bit.
Okay. So your jacket broke the window?
Yeah.
No, not yeah. Yes was good. Yes was good before. Yes, so you should stick to yes.
Yes.
Tell me how it came about that your jacket broke the window.
Well, actually, I was at my house with my brother here. He's a witness.
Just get to the window, will you please?
All right, well, we got an argument.
I'm interested in the jacket. How the jacket, which was on your body initially, left your body, according to you, caused the breaking of Mr. Terry's window.
Well, I was outside, and we were in a big argument. And
Who was in an argument?
His brother and this guy named Eric. And basically, I thought I was going to have to defend myself against these two guys, and I ripped it off and flung it to the side, and as I did, it broke their window.
Well, show me how high the window was, sir.
It's about, yeah, at the bottom of the window.
But when you say you flung your jacket, you indicated you flung the jacket to the ground.
Like this. Over that way.
Now, show me how you do that, sir. Show me how you do it up high enough to hit the window.
Yeah,
Don't hit Mr. Terry again.
Sorry. You could feel it. It's a pretty heavy jacket.
So it was the jacket that broke the window. Yeah. So it's not your fault.
Well, if they wouldn't have been antagonizing me outside, it would have never happened. I was trying to leave and go back to my house. You know, we were in a big argument.
Let me ask you this question. Was Mr. Terry there?
Mr. Terry was there, but he was in
he
the house.
antagonizing you?
No, Stephen wasn't.
And who has to pay for his window?
Well, I don't think I should.
Well, who should be? Bird should pay for his window?
No.
Maybe I should pay for his window.
No.
Maybe this camera person should pay for his window.
No.
What do you think? No? Who should pay for his window?
If they weren't antagonizing the situation...
I'm asking you who should pay for the window.
I think they should pay for it.
Who's they?
Stephen and Ryan.
But he wasn't responsible in any way, sir.
I know.
It's not his jacket. Did you get beat up that day?
Nope.
So maybe you were wrong about them trying to antagonize you. You think it's possible that the libation that you consumed on St. Patrick's Day impaired your judgment? Is that a possibility, Mr. Barnes?
Well, they just set me off.
Is that a possibility that the libation that you consumed on St. Patrick's Day impaired your judgment, sir?
Probably had a little bit to do with it, but not much.
All right. I'm not going to torture you much more, sir. This is my daily exercise. It's my breathing exercise for the day. You understand that? Do you think that the fact that you were drinking had more to do with the fact that the window got broken than Mr. Terry?
Well, I mean, if his brother wasn't outside...
Not his brother.
Okay.
He's not right. I'm not my brother's keeper. I'm talking about Mr. Terry.
Okay, no.
So that your drinking had more to do with the window than Mr. Terry's...
Than Stephen did, yeah.
So this is what I suggest you do, sir. How much was the window?
I have the bill for everything. I'm a contractor. I fixed it myself. So
good. How much was it?
$500.
What?
It's an old window. It broke both the panes, and they're old windows.
You're only suing for $325, sir, so don't tell me that you paid $500 to have the window fixed.
I didn't pay for it. That's how much I would charge to do it myself, but that's okay.
How much did you pay for it?
It's for the glass and the materials.
Yeah.
$100.
$100. And you are a contractor, so you bill for your time. Is that right? And how much do you get paid for an hour?
$55.
$55 an hour. How many hours did it take you?
7.
Suing for $325. That's very reasonable for a window. Now, this is what I'm going to tell you, Mr. Barnes. I want you to listen to me very carefully, because you're not clouded by libation now, are you? If you believe that it's somebody else's fault that your jacket that was on your back broke Mr. Terry's window, I suggest that after you pay Mr. Terry $325, you sue those people that you think are responsible. Is that fair?
Sounds fair to me.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $325. Thank you.
Parties are excused.
Hultgren for charges he made on her credit card. Mary says she took Weldon in after he was released from prison.
Now, this is case number 474 on the calendar in the matter of Bankston versus Hultgren. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Bankston, who are these people?
This is April Hultgren, Bo's daughter, and my fiance, Randy.
And who is this?
It's my fiance, Tara Harris.
Everybody brings a fiance. What do they have to do with this case? Anything?
She's seen some stuff and heard some stuff, and other than that, that's about it.
Okay. According to what I read, Miss Bankston, he used to be a friend of yours or a boyfriend of yours?
He used to live with me.
Live with you as a boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he went to jail?
No, ma'am. He lived with me after he came out of jail.
What year did you go to jail, sir?
In January '92.
And how old was April in 1992?
7.
Who did she live with?
When I was in jail, she was living with my mom and my dad.
What happened with that?
They died.
When did they die?
In '96, my dad died, and in '98, my mom died.
What happened in 1998?
She went to live with a friend of mine for a little while, and her mother come got her. After that, Mary went and got her out of a motel room.
How old was she at the time, Miss Bankston?
She was 13 when I took her.
How did you find her in a motel room?
She called me and told me she wanted something she hadn't eaten in a few days, and I took her something to eat. And when I got to the motel, it was a bad place for her to be. And so I took her with me, and I raised her until he got out.
When did you get out?
In 2001, October 2001.
Were you in communication with Miss Bankston while your daughter was living with her?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you tell her in this communication?
Told her I appreciated everything she was doing for her.
Who was supporting her at the time she was living with you?
I was.
When you got out of jail, Mr. Hultgren, where did you go?
I moved in with Mary.
Mary and your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you start supporting the household?
I was pulling my share, ma'am.
What was he paying for?
He was paying like the electric bills, and I paid the house payment because it was my house before he came along, and he paid the electric bill and things like that. He was pulling his weight as long as he lived there. Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever ask Miss Bankstrom how much she spent on your daughter while you were incarcerated?
No.
Why not?
I don't have any idea why I didn't.
Well, this lawsuit's very simple. It said that at some point you used her credit card after you got out of jail while you were living with her. You used her credit card. You told her you would pay for the bills on her credit card, and you didn't. And you owe her some money, $1,100.
Right.
So?
She got me some credit cards off her account, and went and ate on them and done some stuff on them. I took my boy to World Series, Little League World Series up in Oklahoma on a gas card, and other than that, you know, I was paying them until I left.
And so what happened when you left?
I don't know, it wasn't a good scene.
Did you leave with your daughter or without your daughter?
I left without my daughter.
So you left your daughter there?
No, she wasn't living there at the time, I don't think.
Where was she living?
Living in another place.
Where was she living?
She was living with another friend of ours.
Why?
Her and her father did not get along, so she moved out of the house.
Okay. Can I see the charges that he made?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Would you like all the evidence? Or just
sure. Golden Corral.
That's an eating establishment.
Japanese Palace.
Another eating establishment. I have several eating establishments that we ate at on my credit cards, too.
Well, this is a lot of eating out.
Been 10 years since I ate out anywhere, so we kind of ate out pretty regularly.
So why don't you pay for it?
Well, I really don't feel like I owe her anything on that, because I done some other things, you know. I wasn't trying to get anything from her that I done over there. I mean, you know.
Well, give me an example, sir.
I put a storage building in the backyard. It was like $900-something bucks. I helped put a central air and heating unit in her house. That was labor on there. I put some electrical work in the garage and stuff.
Well, how much do you think it takes to support a teenager, sir? A month?
Quite a bit.
Listen, You know, if you have a large golden retriever, you can't take care of a large golden retriever for less than $100 a month. So
Right.
would you say it costs $200 a month to take care of a teenager?
At least.
Let's try 3.
Yeah, probably.
14 months, right? And she was there 14 months, and you didn't pay any support, right? So why would you stick her with $1,100 worth of bills?
The bottom line is that it was kind of crazy over there. Just several things that happened, and you know, she wrecked my motorcycle and all that. You know, right
She
there
what?
at the end. She wrecked my motorcycle.
She wrecked your motorcycle. I couldn't understand. She
Right.
wrecked your motorcycle. How'd
Right.
she do that?
Well, she took off on it and crashed
That he
it.
wouldn't even had if I had not had financed it for him.
And I was without the motorcycle for 3 months. I paid $500 a month on that while I was in the shop. $6,500 a month.
Well, did she do that on purpose?
Well, I told her not to get on it because she never rode one before, and she took off on it on her own wheel and crashed it. Hurt herself real bad. You know, and then right before I got the motorcycle, I was going to refinance the motorcycle because she kept hounding me about getting it refinanced,
Because
out of
she
her
was on a
name.
loan.
Right. And,
Well, she asked you to refinance it because she didn't want to be on the loan.
Right.
Well,
So
that sounds right to me.
Well, I finally did that, and the day I was
No, he
going
didn't.
the day I was going to refinance it, she called me and told me that she wasn't going to sign off on that loan until I give her $1,000. And I said, well, I ain't giving you $1,000. And I went up there and traded it in and got it out of her name anyway.
What a prince. This is your fiancé. Is there anything you want to say to me?
Yeah, do I need to stand up?
You do.
I just have one comment, and that is whenever he went to refinance the motorcycle last year, he got his credit report and got it back, and it was about that thick, where he only had 4 credit cards in his name that he had gotten since they split up. Well, this had 18 open accounts on it.
We're not talking about the charges for those.
I know, but what I'm saying is...
What's your name?
Tara Harris.
Miss Harris, how old are you?
32.
You have children?
1.
How old?
12.
Who supports that child?
Me and him support him, and I get child support.
You get child support from the child's father?
Yes.
You get child support every month?
No, ma'am.
Every week?
No, ma'am.
How often?
Supposed to get it every month.
Yeah, and what happens?
He's been living at my house. He was with his dad. He's been living with us for the last year.
Oh, so
And-
before that he was living with his father?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you paying child support
Yes,
to his
ma'am.
father? How often?
Out of every paycheck, weekly.
Now, when you don't get child support from his father, does that annoy you?
Yes, ma'am.
And that child is biologically related to you.
Correct.
And biologically related to his father. How do you feel about somebody who doesn't feel any responsibility to somebody who supports their child for 14 months?
She lived with me for 5 years before he got out.
5 years. And pays for clothes, doctor, shoes, vacation, everything else. And doesn't say, as soon as I get out, I'm going to start paying you back for whatever you laid out, because I know that that's my responsibility. Think that kind of person has good moral fiber?
Actually, I think Bubba does have good moral fiber. He just, you know, he didn't work for 10 years. He didn't have the money.
Well, he does now.
Yes, ma'am, he does, and he
So
greatly
why, just a second.
appreciates.
Just a second. I don't care if he appreciates. You got to put your money where your mouth is, honey. Appreciating is not good enough. How could you say he's got good moral fiber? He's working now. And if his child was supported by a stranger for 5 years, and not only supported by, but nurtured by, stayed with, you know, took care of when she was sick, whatever else, you start paying that back. You start saying that was my obligation. And because I committed a crime doesn't mean that I don't have that obligation. So instead of not paying her support, now, I'm not talking about a year ago or 2 years ago, I'm talking about now. Instead of supporting your child, to whom he is not obligated in any way legally, you should send that money to her. She's not even suing for that money. I would love for her to do that. All she says was he used the credit card, $1,100, and that he should pay. Don't you think he should pay that too? Minimally.
No, I don't think he should pay that credit card debt.
You think he should pay her for supporting his daughter?
He's probably, yeah, I would say that he's probably responsible for that.
Well,
I
she's
know
not
that
suing. She's
him.
not suing him for that. She says, I took that responsibility on myself, and I'm not even going to pursue that. I just want what he's supposed to pay me on the credit card when he left. You get my drift.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I felt he can buy other things. He can buy a new Harley, but he couldn't pay me $1,100 for for credit card bills that he charged up.
What he'll go for? I mean, I don't know what I've done. If she wouldn't have been here, I don't know where she'd be, you know.
He has somebody else, I have somebody else. We're friends, we have a daughter together.
I'm just glad she's gonna get paid so I don't have to hear him argue anymore.
I will never put nobody on my credit cards ever again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of 48 versus Cratterville, step forward, please.
22-year-old mechanic Timothy Fournier is suing his former live-in girlfriend, 18-year-old Laura Cratterville, for rent and for damage to his property. Laura claims she paid her rent in cash.
Mr. Fournier, the defendant was your girlfriend. You lived together for a while. It is your claim she owes you some money for rent and property that you claim she destroyed of yours. The defendant says that she gave you money every week and that whatever property she had of yours she returned after she received a telephone call from the police. When did you and the defendant move in together, and what kind of property?
We moved into an apartment on September 1st.
In whose name was the lease?
Both of ours.
You have a copy of the lease?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Fournier, does your hand always shake, or do I make you a little nervous?
A little both.
No, I just make you nervous. Don't be nervous. It's a Tuesday. I don't do anything really bizarre to litigants until Friday.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I had a very big loan on a truck. What happened is it was taken and burnt.
Your Honor, that's not true. He took it.
You pled guilty to burning the truck?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Timothy Fournier says his ex-girlfriend Laura Cratterville owes for rent and for breaking his PlayStation 2.
All right, so tell me how much money she owes you and from what?
I have her owing half the security deposit and the first and second month's rent that she had never paid me for. And that came up to...
Well, did you get the security deposit back?
No, because of the damages that she had made to the house.
Did you pay any of the rent?
Your Honor, the agreement was I'd give him $100 a week, and from the date we moved in until the date we left, I'd given him $100 every week except the last week I gave him $60.
Is that right?
No.
Well, how much did she give you?
$15, $20 here for the odds and ends.
Well, did you keep a record of what she gave you?
Of what she gave me, no.
Well, how am I supposed to figure that out, Mr. Fournier?
I have no idea. But I
Me neither.
But I did not...
Me neither. When two children want to play house and then it doesn't work out, you come into court and you say, here, this is my problem, you figure it out. Well, that's not the way responsible people behave. Did you keep a record?
No, Your Honor.
When did you separate?
The day we moved out, on November 15th.
Tell me about it.
We had gotten to an argument that spawned from an online, me talking online about certain people, and then it spawned into like this big giant argument where insults were thrown back and forth till finally we had decided to break up.
Okay.
And I was planning on leaving, so I called my mother so I could pick up my brother's truck. When I went down there to get my brother's truck, and my dad had met me to help me move all my stuff out. When I got there, the house had been ransacked and the door was left wide open.
Can I see it, please?
The door was not open, and the house was not destroyed, except from what he had taken with him.
And that's what the apartment looked like when we had got back.
You made a mess, madam.
Your Honor,
yes, you did.
The house was a mess before
Oh,
we even
no.
broke up.
You made a mess. You made a mess. Absolutely. What? It looks like all her clothes.
A lot of things would look like they're ransacked and thrown around the house.
That's the way the house always looked.
No.
No, it
it's
really
always
did.
looked like that. No.
That's the bedroom. We didn't have anything in there but clothes. We didn't have a bed. We didn't have nothing.
Nobody lives like this.
We did,
Except maybe a
unfortunately.
14-year-old.
We really did.
Well, you should have been neater.
Should have been.
Okay. How did you get out of this lease? I'm curious.
She had signed herself off the lease, so what I had done is I was claiming bankruptcy, so I added that to my bankruptcy.
Why were you claiming bankruptcy?
I put myself into a lot of debt.
How old are you?
22.
How did you put yourself in so much debt that at your age you have to declare a bankruptcy?
I was charged with burning my truck and attempting to fraud. So then when I pled out, I couldn't claim it. So
you're going to have to be more specific with me, sir. You're being very circumspect.
I had a very big loan on a truck, and then what happened is it was taken and burnt. And
Your Honor, that's not true. He took it.
You had a truck that was on a lease.
Yes.
And you owed a lot of money on it.
Yes.
And it broke down?
No, it was crashed and burned.
You were charged with it and you pled guilty to burning the truck?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay. And then you had to make restitution
Yes.
for the truck. And how much did you owe?
I owed 18 on the truck, 18,000.
So you stuck the leasing company with $18,000?
Well, yeah, I mean, I claimed
What do you mean, well,
bankruptcy.
yeah?
I mean, they came after me and I went bankrupt.
What do you think? You think somebody comes down and gives the leasing company $18,000? When you declare bankruptcy, if you own somebody a debt and you declare bankruptcy, what that means is that they're now stuck with a truck that you burned.
Yeah.
Who advised you to do that? Your father? You didn't advise him to do that, did you?
No.
I should hope not. So what you're telling me, sir, is what you did was you decided to lump the whole thing together. That when you declared bankruptcy for this truck, you also lumped together the broken lease.
Yeah.
And you expect sympathy from me, is what I'm asking you.
No, I'm not expecting sympathy.
Ah, perfect, good. All right, so what property do you claim she took or destroyed?
She had taken my PlayStation 2 that night.
Good. Now, she says in her answer that she returned it to you.
She did, but it came back broken.
Where did you get the PlayStation 2 from?
Sears.
And you put it on your credit card?
Yes.
You declare bankruptcy on that credit card, too?
Yes.
Get out of here. Is he playing with a full deck?
Yes.
Does he not understand a concept of morality?
Yes, he does.
Well, it's not evident here, sir. He took advantage of Sears by lumping them into his bankruptcy rather than paying off the credit card. And now you're suing her because you want the money. I assume if I give you the money for the PlayStation that you broke, you're going to give it to Sears, right?
No.
Get out of here. Oh, goodbye. Have a happy life. Dad, you got a lot of work to do. He's 22, maybe still salvageable. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Is suing her former roommate's mother, dispatcher Christy Malden, for stealing her dog and the dog's puppies. Christy says Veronica is a neglectful pet owner.
Yeah, this is case number 80 on the calendar in the matter of Lopez versus Malden. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Lopez, it is your claim that the defendant, who is the mother of a former roommate of yours,
Yes.
stole your dog and her puppies, and you want to be compensated to the tune of $1,900.
Yes.
The defendant says that you neglected this dog, that she spent over $1,000 in vet bills putting the dog in a reasonable condition, and that she ultimately sold the puppies. We'll find out what you did with the dog. I understand that this was not the first time your dog had puppies, according to your complaint. Is that right?
That's correct.
What kind of a dog was it?
It was a Chipu, half Chihuahua, half Poodle.
Where did you get the dog from?
It was a Christmas gift to my daughter from her father for Christmas of 2002.
How many litters have you had with this dog?
This is the second one.
Who did you breed her with?
It was actually a situation where there was a dog, a poodle, that lived around my area. And I had a doggy door, and the dog was able to squeeze through my gate. And while I was at work, she got pregnant while I was at work.
So what you're telling me is you don't know really who the father was?
No, I do. I know the dog. I know the dog.
So it was an accident?
Yes.
Why didn't you have the dog spayed?
Because I figured that I had it fixed. I had intentions of doing it, but it happened too quickly.
Well, that doesn't happen too quickly, madam. You got the dog as a puppy in December of 2002.
Well,
Within 6 months, you had the dog spayed. And if you didn't have the dog spayed, then you know that you could run the risk of the dog having puppies.
Well, I had intentions of maybe breeding her, but I wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did.
In August of 2004, she had her first litter?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that the first time that Miss Malden helped you?
Yes, that is correct.
And tell me about that.
Well, I was at work, and I had another roommate at the time. And when she let me know that our dog, Zoe, was going to have puppies, and that she didn't know what to do, so she contacted Christy to help her out.
Well, you told me she called you at work.
She called me, right, to tell me, and
she called you at work, and what did you do, Miss Lopez?
I was going to come home, and she's like, I was going to come home. She said that she knows Heather. Heather's mom is good with dogs, so she's going to call Heather's mother and see if she would help her out. So she...
Why didn't you go home?
Because I was working, and I couldn't... I was... because I had... My roommate told me that she was able to handle it, so I didn't go home.
How many puppies were delivered in August 2004?
There were 4.
All born alive?
Yes, all of them.
All of them survive?
Yes.
Did you sell all 4?
I sold 2.
What happened to the other 2?
The other 2 is a sad story.
Well, let me hear. I'm interested in sad stories. 4 were born alive. You sold 2. What happened to the other 2?
Okay, well, my...
Let's get the story, please. Are the other 2 alive or dead?
No, they died.
When did they die?
They died about 2 months after they were, or a month and a half after they were born.
Were they in your custody when they died?
They were.
Had they been taken to a vet up until that time? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Okay. So now you have puppies that are 6 weeks old that you didn't know how to deliver. 2 of them died after they reached a month and a half old. So that was clearly your fault.
No. It wasn't...
What did they die from?
Well, okay, again, I had to go to work, and it was hot. It was in the summer. So my air conditioner broke, and my dog, it was... How to explain this? Okay. It was really hot. My dog was... Okay. I ended up putting... Okay, I had a dog house outside on my patio, and I put my dog and the puppies outside at night because my air conditioner broke at night, and it was extremely hot. It was so extremely hot. Well, it was cooler night, so I put them outside, and again, my roommate and I agreed, that I would, that they would go outside. I'd go to work in the morning. She would go and pick, and take them and bring them back in the house. Well, I went to work, and she ended up sleeping in, and I guess two of the puppies crawled out of their doghouse, and they died.
So again, it was somebody else's fault?
No, it was not somebody else's fault. It was my fault.
Good. Okay, now you should have understood, Miss Lopez, that breeding dogs was not for you.
I wasn't breeding them. It was an accident. It wasn't something...
An accident happens once.
Okay.
Then you take the dog to have the dog spayed.
Right.
You did not.
No, I did not.
So the dog got pregnant again. Do you want to tell me how that happened?
It was by the same dog. And it was the same way.
Same dog, same way. And you did the same thing. You called the defendant.
I called her this time, yes.
I said you called the defendant.
Yes.
I read your complaint, and you called her and said what?
And I told her, my roommate trusted that you helped deliver Zoe's first litter, and I was like, I need to go to work again. And I asked her if I could bring Zoe over so that she could assist in making sure that she was okay, because I realized that her water broke. And so she, I asked her and she agreed. So I went over there and I dropped Zoe off, and I told her that I would come back and, check up on the puppies.
Well, when did you come back?
I went to work, and then I came back the following day.
When did she have the puppies?
She had them that day.
What was the date?
It was January. It was about January 30th.
Is that the date?
No, it was
What's the date?
She brought them to my house on the 20th. She delivered the puppies the 21st in the evening.
She delivered the puppies on the 21st?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she come back?
Sunday.
Which is what date?
Well, that would be the 23rd.
3 days after she brought the dog to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Lopez, between August of 2004, when your dog had the first litter,
Right.
And January of 2005, how many vet visits did your dog have?
She had 2 vet visits.
You have the forms?
I don't have those.
What were the visits for?
It was just a checkup, that's it, getting her shots, and that was it.
What's the name of the vet?
The vet, I don't have that information.
How many dogs do you have?
I only have 1 dog.
Well, if you only have 1 dog, then it's not a problem with remembering the name of the vet. You remembered what happened in August of 2004, pretty much verbatim.
Right.
So, just the name of the doctor.
I don't have that information, I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog, and 8 puppies, because you couldn't figure out that that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica Lopez says her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and Zoe's litter of puppies. Christy says Veronica has no right to be a pet owner.
Okay, Ms. Malden, the plaintiff brought the dog to your house on the 20th of January. Yes. You delivered how many puppies?
4.
Were you aware of the fact that the plaintiff was responsible for the death of 2 of the puppies that you had delivered the previous summer?
Yes, ma'am. I was very upset when I found that out.
After you delivered the 4 puppies, and they were all born alive?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they all survive?
Yes.
What happened with Zoe?
When Veronica called me on the 20th, she asked me if I could watch the dog. And I said, yes, I'm homesick today, so that'd be fine. I'll watch her for you. And she brought her over, and she said, I think her water broke. And so I watched her, and the dog, her water didn't break, but she kept throwing up. So that happened throughout the whole day on Thursday. Friday, she was pretty much the same, but she delivered the puppies, started around 5:30 on the 21st in the evening. And she had a hard time with those, so I had to assist her in those, pulling the puppies out because she's so small and so weak.
Somebody have a picture of this dog?
Yes.
I'd like to see.
Here's one of the babies, too. That was when the puppies were 3 weeks old.
Okay. When did Zoe have to go to the vet?
Well, Sunday, Zoe started having diarrhea in the evening. By Monday, she was throwing up. I had put her in my bathroom with the babies and came back at lunch to check on them, and she was laying in both feces and nursing the puppies at the same time. Well, I then called Veronica and let her know, the situation, told her they needed to be taken to the vet. And she
You
said,
remember that phone call?
Yes, I do.
Did you rush home to take her to the vet?
I told her that I was going to come by and pick up the dog.
Did you?
I did not, no, I did not, because she didn't explain to me or go into detail on what exactly was happening.
I mean, is there something thick? She's had your dog the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. She had the dog when the dog delivered the puppies, when the dog was vomiting, which she told you about. She had the dog when the dog had the puppies. Now she's calling you and saying, there's a problem. The dog has to go to the vet.
Right. See, I went to her house. It was 2 days after Zoe, or a day after Zoe had the puppies. I went over to her house to go visit my dog and the puppies.
I'm talking to you about the day she called you and said the dog is sick.
Right. But there's more that goes to that. And
how old's your daughter?
She is 5 years old.
Have you ever gotten a call from school and what's your daughter's name?
Alexis.
Alexis. Alexis is sick, you have to come and get her.
Yes.
And do you go after work?
And yes, I do.
You go after work, you say, you just hold her there, I'll be there when I can get there.
Yes, I do. I get off, no, I apologize. No, I don't tell her to hold on there. I get out of work and I go get my daughter. I apologize. I was missing.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
That's what this lady said. She said this dog is very ill and has to go to the vet.
I understand that.
What do you understand, Miss Lopez? What you have to understand at your age is you got enough on your plate without a dog. Yeah. You got enough on your plate taking care of yourself. Now you got enough on your plate taking care of yourself and a 5-year-old. You certainly don't have any room up here to take care of yourself, a 5-year-old, a dog and 8 puppies, because she had 4, 2 you lost, and 2 more you had, because you couldn't figure out that that doggy door was going to be open and closed and open and closed and open and closed. So you got to think about that. You didn't use your brains to think about spaying the dog when you were supposed to. The dog got pregnant, had puppies. Because of your neglect, 2 died. So it would seem to me somebody in their right mind would say, listen, I'd better have this dog spayed now or move to a house that didn't have a doggy door. Not you. You kept the dog. You kept the doggy door, and what do you know? Neighbor's dog comes in again, and once again your dog is pregnant. And you are running to work. So you call somebody else to clean up after you.
Well, I was working, and she called me, and she told me she had already taken her to the vet.
No,
So
no.
This is after the conversation.
No. You said I'll be there.
Right.
Did you leave work?
No, I did not leave work.
What time do you get off from work?
Sometime in the afternoon, late afternoon.
Your Honor.
So you had no intention of going over there?
No, I did.
Did you go and say, I have to leave work?
Veronica Lopez claims her former roommate's mother, Christy Malden, stole her dog Zoe and gave away Zoe's litter of puppies.
What was the vet bill for Zoe?
It was $1,900.
Can I see what they had to do with the dog,
$1,009.88. Those are the doctor's notes.
They had to give your dog an IV catheter replacement, fluid therapy, fluid additives, plasma transfusion.
She had to have a
Dog
blood
was
transfusion.
hospitalized, spayed.
The dog was severely malnutritioned.
A dog that is malnutrition doesn't have 4 healthy puppies. My dog was well loved.
Two men may concern. Zoe is a 2-year-old female terrier. She had given birth 2 days prior. She had been vomiting throughout the day and was in a moribund state. She had a fever, a life-threatening low blood calcium, and had lost 1/2 of her red blood cells. Saving her life required 4 days of hospitalization, a blood transfusion, a plasma transfusion, and abdominal surgery to remove her uterus that was continuing to bleed postpartum.
And I'm not denying any of that information. I know that my dog needed help. But the thing is, okay, the first day I went to Miss Malden's house to go look at my dog and the puppies, I saw that they were in good care. I did. I saw that they were in great care. And I mentioned to Heather, you know, for your mom doing, you know, this good deed and whatever, I want to offer her one of the puppies. The first thing that she mentioned was that my mom doesn't want one of the puppies, she wants Zoe.
Well, because Zoe was the neglected one. Miss Lopez, listen to me very carefully, madam.
Yes.
Did you pay her the $1,000 that you spent at the vet?
No, because I didn't have $1,000, and that was...
Well, you didn't have $1,000. Where did she get $1,000 from?
She didn't, and that's not... I told her, like, okay, after she mentioned that, the next day, the following day, after I had the conversation with Miss Malden at work, she told me she was going to take her to the vet, and I told her that I was going to go ahead and take care of it. I was going to take Zoe to the vet myself.
A vet whose name you can't remember. Did you give her back the $1,000? She paid the bill. The answer is
no.
No. Good. Where are the puppies?
I sold them after they turned 6 weeks old.
Okay. How much did you get for the puppies?
I got $300 for 2 of them, $200 for 2 of them, and then I sold Zoe for $300.
Who did you sell Zoe to?
I don't know who they were. I did screen the homes, though.
I don't know if I believe that, Miss Malden.
I don't, really, I don't.
I read the complaint. I read your answer. And I am, quite frankly, sympathetic with your position. But legally, you had no right to sell her dog. You understand that?
Yes.
She has no right to have a dog.
This is correct.
She doesn't know how to take care of them.
Right.
She's neglectful. She has a very full plate. And she has no right to act irresponsibly.
Right.
She caused the death of 2 puppies. She almost caused the death of Zoe because of her neglect, and she was perfectly happy to have somebody else pick up the slack for her. She is not a person who is responsible enough to have a pet.
Right.
But that doesn't give you the legal right to dispose of her dog. So the only thing that I have to come up with is, what are Miss Lopez's damages? Because for every lawsuit, there has to be damage.
Yes, ma'am.
I've already decided that legally you had absolutely no right to dispose of her dog.
Well, Your Honor...
Don't say anything to me.
Can I just...
Ms. Lopez, listen to me very carefully. I've just told you that the defendant had absolutely no right to legally
But
to
she was
sell
already
your dog.
trying to convince me to give up my dog.
Absolutely, because you have no right to have a dog.
No.
Listen, I just told you there isn't enough up here to take care of yourself. You have yourself and you have a 5-year-old daughter. You have no right adding to your plate a helpless animal that requires somebody else to do a little thinking for it, like spaying it so it doesn't become pregnant twice in 1 year, not taking puppies in out of the sun when it's 90 degrees outside, needs somebody else to think about taking care of them. You don't have that kind of time. I give you credit for working 2 jobs. I give you credit for being a single mom and taking care of a 5-year-old and working to take care of yourself. You have no right to have a dog. You don't have time. You don't have time to make that commitment. And the only thing is I have to figure out what your damages were. She took over your dog. She had, on a dollar profit, she had $300 that she made in addition to what she spent on your dogs at the vet. But she also took care of your dog and your puppies for 8 weeks, where you did zippo. No, I'm speaking zippo. Nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, her time in taking care of your pets have to be worth something. If your puppies were with you and you had to tube feed them for 2 weeks, you would have had to take off from work to do that. Otherwise, you would have neglected them and turned them over to your roommate who let 2 of them fry out in the sun, which would have been an unsatisfactory resolution. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
52-year-old political consultant Tommy Hobbs for failing to get her son out of jail.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 313 on the calendar in the matter of Virgin versus Hobbs. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Virgin, your son is currently incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, he is.
And he's incarcerated already having been sentenced, and his sentence, according to you, is 20 years?
Yes.
What was he convicted of?
Aggravated robbery case that he wasn't involved in.
According to your complaint, you hired the defendant and paid the defendant $500 because he promised you $550 because he promised you that within a year, through his efforts, he would get your son out of jail.
Yes.
And according to you, he did nothing and you want your money back.
Yes.
Defendant says he did accept $550 because of his expertise. There were no guarantees of anything. And as it happens, he was not even hired to process an appeal for your son, but to try to get some money back for lawyers that you had paid over the course of your son's trials and appeals. How did you meet him?
Through my daughter. My daughter was talking about my son's case on her job, and one of her co-workers overheard her talking about the case, and she told her that she knew a person who could help get my son out of prison.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Smith.
Did you make contact with the defendant, Miss Smith? Did you personally, or did your mother?
My mother.
So tell me, Miss Virgin, about the conversation that you had with the defendant when you called him.
Well, when I called him, he gave me his address, and I met with him at his house.
At his house?
At his house.
He didn't have a place of business?
No.
Go ahead.
I met with him at his house, and he told me that he's done other cases like this, and he could guarantee that he would have my son out by this time next year.
Now, Mr. Hobbs, what kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a consultant, Your Honor.
What kind of consultant?
I'm a political consultant.
What do you mean, a political consultant? Who are your clients?
My clients are people who are running for office, who are running for judge, who are running for political office, Congress, and all over.
And how long have you been doing this sort of work, sir?
Almost 8 years.
Tell me your version of the conversation.
The conversation went like this. Do you want me to start at the beginning, Your Honor?
Yes.
She contacted me on a Sunday. She was desperate, and I told her to come on over. She said, Mr. Hobbs, I have 5 attorneys that owe me money. And I said, you know, if we would talk to them, Miss Virgin, we'd probably get our money back. They don't want to see you in court or nothing like that. I say, maybe I can. Let me call them and contact them. Got on the phone. She was on the phone with me. I called 3 ways. I said, Mr. So-and-so, you have took $2,000 from Miss Virgin. she needs her money back or she needs an appeal filed from her. He said he would have the appeal filed Tuesday of next week, or he would send her money back. I called back that Tuesday. The appeal had not been filed. He was not finished with it. She was angry. I called back the following week. He did not have the appeal. I said, this is what we'll do. Send her half of her money back for the work that you've done already, which is $1,000, and we'll present that to Ms. Virgie so she could go get another attorney, which she wanted. I took her to the best appeals attorney, they say, quote unquote, in Texas. We sit down 2 hours and talk to this attorney. He asked her, do you want to go ahead with this appeal? This is going to cost you $5,000. She said, yes. As soon as we get the money from the other lawyer, we'll come and hire you. Your Honor, I had did my job. She asked me to do something, and I did that. The attorney did never send her money or her appeal.
Ms. Virgin, Mr. Hobbs indicates that the conversation was not about getting your son out of jail. The discussion that you had to do with getting some money back from one appeals lawyer so that you could pay another appeals lawyer. Does that sound familiar to you?
He told me that he knew people who could help him get my son out of prison within a year.
Your Honor, with all the respect I have for her, I would not ever in my life tell anybody in the United States or outside the United States that I could get a 20-year sentence and get her son out the state penitentiary in a year.
He told me he's done it for other people.
Your Honor.
That's the only reason why I gave him the $550.
Your Honor, I did not tell her that.
Did you, in fact, participate in a three-way telephone conversation with the defendant and the old lawyer that never filed the brief?
Yes, I did.
When you sat down with the other appellate lawyer, did you discuss with him the process that had gone on so far?
Yes, I did.
Did Mr. Hobbs participate in that conversation?
Yes.
How many hours in total, Ms. Virgin, do you think Mr. Hobbs spent with you?
3.
How many hours do you think he spent reading over the transcripts, etc.?
45 minutes.
So that's 4 hours. I want to know, sir, what particular expertise do you have with regard to reading over transcripts, making a determination as appeals? Do you have any legal training?
No, ma'am. My quest is getting the lawyer to do her thing, the best lawyer that we can, on a reasonable price. Ms. Virgie do not have no money. She do not have money to pay me.
I gather, Mr. Hobbs, that both Ms. Smith and her mother needed a spokesperson.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is really what you were hired for.
No, Ms. Judy, I was hired to get her a good appeals lawyer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacqueline Virgin says political consultant Tommy Hobbs promised to get her son released from jail. Jacqueline says her son is still incarcerated and she wants a refund.
Did you finally get somebody to process an appeal for your son?
Yes, I got a lawyer named Charles.
Did you pay this lawyer any money, Miss Virgin?
Not yet.
And I told her not to.
Why is that?
Judge Judy, she sent me to the streets to find out about her son. She introduced me to a fellow named... This is one of the guys who was in the game, the one that had the gun. I got to the other 2 guys, the neighbors, who were teenagers at that particular time. These 2 guys, these are bumping jack guys.
What is bumping jack?
Bumping jack means any old lady, old man you catch coming out the apartment who had just got off an airplane, they bump and jack them. They beat them up and take their money.
Got it, beat them up.
Come to find out, her son's nickname in the streets is Bat.
What? Bat?
Bat, like a bat, a baseball bat. He was the gang leader.
Is what you're telling me, Mr. Hobbs, that she gave you certain information and you went out to try to find that out in the street?
And give it back to the attorney that we were going to hire.
Did Mr. Hobbs ever talk to you about the fact that he had gone out and spoken to these prospective witnesses and what they told him?
No, he didn't speak to anybody. He just took my money and didn't want to refund it.
Judge Judy.
Yeah.
Stays across the bayou from me. She begged me to go over and talk to him.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Okay. Mr. is the one that had the gun.
You went to see this Mr. tells you that he was the one with the gun.
Right.
Not Miss Virgin's son.
Right, and he wanted to testify in court to that.
Okay.
So I told him, no, you're going to have to come to the appeal court that lawyer we're going to hire to give him this statement. Can you give an affidavit to me? Didn't see the guy no more. Then I caught up with him on the streets.
And?
Bat, her son, is the one, is the guy.
Is the guy that what?
He's the one that goes and rents the hotel.
So Miss Virgin's son was involved in some way in this robbery that took place?
Ma'am, yes. That's my opinion.
That was what you were told?
Yes, ma'am. Bat would go get his neighbors, these two brothers. They go to the hotel.
And what did they do with the hotel?
They rented the hotel to set up for what they was going to do.
Explain it to me.
Old lady walks out her apartment, okay?
Apartment or the hotel?
Out the hotel. Goes down the streets, right?
From the hotel?
Going to get something to eat, right. They bump and jack her.
Miss Virgin says that her son was convicted of an aggravated robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
From what you tell me, a bump and jack is you bump somebody and you take their money and run. That's not an aggravated robbery.
If you have a weapon, it is.
Yes. So somebody had a weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Your Honor, my son was involved in an aggravated robbery case that he didn't commit because he was put into a lineup as an extra, picked out as the victim in an unjust system because this is a case that he can't erase. He was put in jail without bail.
Miss Virgin, let me ask you this question. How old was your son when he was arrested?
He was
20.
18. No, he was 20. He was 20 years old.
Now I want you to listen to me. I want you to listen to me very carefully. Prior to this arrest, how many times had your son been arrested?
My son had been arrested one time.
Before this?
Before this.
As an adult or as a juvenile?
As a juvenile.
For what?
For a possession case.
Possession of what?
What was it? Cocaine. Not cocaine, it was
What, Mr. Hobbs, do you know?
I think it was a weapon.
It wasn't coke. It wasn't a weapon. It was not a weapon.
Well, won't y'all tell her the truth?
He had some crack. He was arrested for crack on him.
Sale.
To sell?
Yes.
Not to sell.
To use?
He said he was holding it for a friend.
Miss Virgin, listen to me. I believe that you are a mother who is pretty desperate. Who is pretty desperate.
Your Honor, I am not
Just
desperate.
listen. Yes, you are. You're a mother who's pretty desperate. She would like her son out of jail.
I would like him out of jail because he's innocent.
Okay.
He had 8 witnesses at the trial stating where he was at the time of the robbery.
Evidently nobody believed him. Miss Virgin, that's not up to me to determine.
Your Honor.
This case has to do with whether Mr. Hobbs did the job that he was hired to do, and that was to try to get some money back from you, from lawyers.
He wasn't hired
to
get the money back.
I'm speaking that he was hired to do the job of trying to get some money back and get an appeals going so that your son at least had a shot of an appeals process that would result in his being exonerated of these charges. And I find that he did sufficient work to warrant the $550 that you paid him. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me that he could get my son out of jail by this time next year.
She doesn't realize what she has as a son.
He said that he had done it for other people.
She's a good lady. She just wants her son back.
I should have won the verdict.
She's already had one nervous breakdown. She needs to get on with her life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hayden Grapple versus Hayden Kennedy Lyons. Step forward, please.
Cindy Hayden and her son, 16-year-old Anthony Kreppel, are suing Cindy's brother, Rick Hayden, his girlfriend, Lila Kennedy, and Lila's son, 16-year-old Nicholas Lyons. Cindy says during a road trip, Nicholas assaulted her son.
All right, let's deal with this in short order if we can. Miss Hayden, the defendant is your brother, Mr. Hayden.
Yes.
Co-defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours,
Yes.
Miss Kennedy. And according to your complaint, you wanted to bring Miss Kennedy to meet your brother.
Correct.
And you arranged to go with your children and Miss Kennedy's children to where your brother lives, which was some distance away in another state.
Yes.
On sort of a road trip / vacation, whatever. So far correct?
Correct.
And you say that while there, your son and the defendant's son got into some sort of an altercation. and your son was assaulted.
Yes.
Miss Kennedy said she's not taking you back. You're not all going back in the same car. Make your own arrangements to get home.
Correct.
So you are suing for two things. For the expenses that you had to get home.
Correct.
And you are suing them also on behalf of your son for whatever injuries he sustained as a result of this altercation with the defendant's son.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. What makes you think they're responsible to provide transportation for you home after this argument that got physical with the two boys?
For the simple fact, when we left on this trip, it was a trip paid for there and back.
By whom?
By my brother Rick. He had sent me money for gas to get there and sent Miss Kennedy money before we left to get home on.
I paid for the trip, Your Honor, but she spent her share of the money on marijuana before she
I don't care
made
whether
her
she
trip.
spent her share on marijuana. It doesn't make any difference. He sent gas money.
No.
He sent gas money. You're not entitled to any money for your return trip. Forget that.
Okay.
Now, tell me about the fight that happened between your son and the defendant, Miss Kennedy's son.
Lila and I was arguing over the money situation, that I had paid for a haircut. She said I didn't. It was minute. The next thing I know, Lila grabbed me in a headlock. As I was in my headlock and I was looking over, I seen that in the doorway there was my brother, Rick, my son, and also Nick Lyons. Well, my brother Rick had my son held by both of his arms. He was behind him and had him held by both of his arms, while Nick Lyons was punching my son in the chest with his fist.
So you called the police?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have, young man?
Well, I got a knot on my chest. It caused a bunch of bruising, and they said that this knot will probably be here for about a year or so.
A knot?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened that day. Why don't you tell me what happened?
All the yelling and everything was going on, and Tony, he went after my mom, and I was defending my mom, basically.
Was she holding this lady?
No,
in
that
her
didn't happen until me and her son got into it, and I had him on the floor holding him down, and then she jumped on my back, threw me in a headlock herself, and had me to the point where I couldn't breathe, and I was turning purple in the face, and she grabbed her off of me, and that happened, and she had her back up against the wall, and me and Tony continued at it.
Did he hit you at all?
Not that I can remember.
But you hit him?
Yeah.
How many times?
Once in the face, and that was, and I kneed him in the chest.
It was pretty much a wrestling match.
What?
It was pretty much just a wrestling match, and there was nobody holding anybody except Lila holding Cindy, because Cindy, after they ended up on a wrestling match on the floor, Cindy jumps on his back, clawing him at the face, choking him, screaming and yelling and calling him dirty names.
You mean over haircut money?
She wanted to go home. The whole arrangement was that Cindy called. I hadn't talked to her for years because she's been a parasite in the family for years. She's done this to everybody in the family. Every time she goes somewhere, she turns it into a big melee mess. So I thought, well, give her one more chance. She's your sister. You know, it's Thanksgiving. Bring her down here, see if she's changed. Well, that was it. She changed all right.
Okay. She wanted to go home.
After she started threatening Lila's life because Lila wouldn't take her home when she wanted to go because she ran out of her drugs. And she wouldn't leave it alone. Every time I would leave the room, she would go back in there. And the last time, when I finally got fed up, she told Lila, just wait till I get you home if you make it that far. So then Tony attacks Lila and starts screaming and went after Lila. I tried to separate them.
Does that sound right to you?
Actually, I was telling Lila that it was true. My mom paid for the haircut that Nick had.
So you were arguing with Lila?
Yeah, and then Nick came up
Loud?
behind me. Yeah, we were arguing pretty loud.
Loud? You were yelling at her?
Yeah, she was yelling at me and yelling at my mom.
How old are you?
16.
How old is she? Older. She's a mother. She has a child your age. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what were you doing yelling at her?
I was defending my mom.
Your mother looks like she can defend herself. Your lawsuit's dismissed. You had a fight, you had an argument, you were all involved with it. It got physical, which is outrageous for the adults to become involved with a physical argument. Now you want to be compensated for that, plus the ride home?
22-year-old construction worker Ryan Lutz and his friend 21-year-old dairy farmer Corey Henry for damages to her car and for sexually assaulting her 18-year-old daughter Jamie Swanson.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 449 on the calendar in the matter of Anashevska versus Lutz Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Anashevska, you own a car, but your daughter was driving the car?
No, my daughter owned the car.
Your daughter is how old?
16. She worked for 2 years to purchase this car. I own it with
Who
her.
was the titled owner of the car?
Both of us.
Okay, because she's a minor, she can't own the property.
Right.
That's why you're here. And according to your complaint, these two young men took your daughter's car really almost without her permission or with her coerced permission, according to you. She was in the car. They drove the car recklessly. They blew the engine of the car, and they also sexually abused her and assaulted her while she was in the car. That's what
Yes.
you say.
Yes.
That's what your daughter told you.
Yes.
These two guys say, listen, we were at a party. She let us drive the car. We drove the car with her in it around the block a couple of times. Nothing else happened. The car died. They had nothing to do with it. Is that right, gentlemen?
That's correct.
Okay. So since you weren't there and you really don't know what happened, is that a fair statement?
That's fair.
I just have a few questions for you, then you can sit down. When did this incident happen with your daughter?
July 26th.
And when had she gone out that day?
She'd been at a family reunion until roughly 10-ish.
Don't look at her, look at me.
Roughly 10 when she was...
10 p.m.?
Correct.
So she was at a family reunion with you all day?
No, with her father.
Okay.
We're divorced.
So you really don't know anything that happened that day?
It's just from her.
Just for my purposes, I'm going to get what she told you. She told you she got a call. She was at a reunion with her father until 10 o'clock. Then she got a call from some people, and she left.
Correct.
And did she tell you where she went?
To be a sober driver for this party.
Now you can sit down. Step up. Tell me your first name.
Jamie.
Ryan,
How old are you, Ryan?
22. Corey, 21.
What time had you arrived at this party?
Around 7 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Probably 10, 12.
And whose house was it at?
Friends, Mike.
What time did you see her at the party?
It's been 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Is that right?
No, it was later than that.
How late?
It was around 10:30.
What were you doing at the party?
Anna, a friend of mine from high school, had called me and she was drinking.
Called you where?
On my cell phone. I was on my way back home and asked me to drive her because she had been drinking.
So you arrived at this party. Had you known about the party that day?
No.
You had no idea that there was a party at Mike's house?
Exactly.
Did you know Mike?
From school, yes.
So you knew him?
Yes.
Had you ever been to his house before?
No.
So you got there at 10:30, and what did you do?
I drove some people home. I drove some people to Quick Trip.
You drove some people home?
Yes.
Who did you drive home?
Anna and Sarah.
About how far was it to drive them home from Mike's house?
It was probably a 10-minute drive.
And what did you do after you dropped them off?
Well, we went to her house and were there for
Who's
Anna's house, sorry.
You went to Anna's house, just the three of you?
Right. And we were there for about a half an hour. Her mother asked if she had driven. She said no, I was the sober driver. And I talked to her mother. And then she decided she wanted to go back to the party. So I took her back.
That was pretty stupid.
Yes, it was.
So you took her back to the party. Where was her mother when you decided to take her back to the party?
She went to sleep.
So, Jamie, I'm not stupid. Maybe your mother's willing to believe all this nonsense that you told her. I'm not. Because if you went to pick up your friend because you wanted to be a good Samaritan and your friend had been drinking and you took her home, then you say, so your mother is saying, you're a very responsible young lady. But a very responsible young lady doesn't say, okay, then I'm going to take you back to the party so we could all party.
I had no intention of letting that happen.
Then you go home. You don't drive back another 10 minutes to take her to a party. Now, when you took her back to the party, what was your intention?
Everyone seemed like they were staying there, so I wasn't needed anymore.
What do you mean you weren't needed anymore? You went to pick her up because she had been drinking too much to drive home. You take her home. She decides to go back to the party to drink some more, so you decide that she doesn't need you anymore, and you were leaving.
My main goal was that nobody drove drunk that night.
Then you shouldn't have taken her back. I'm telling you, madam, your mother may believe this nonsense that you told her. I don't. If your main goal was that nobody should be drunk and driving, then you leave your friend at home, at her home, and you say, I'm going home now. So then you drive her back to the party, along with the other girl, I assume.
Yes.
And then you were leaving.
Yes.
So what happened?
As I was walking out, they stopped me, Corey and Ryan, and wanted to drive my car. I said no, I was tired. I worked in the morning. I wanted to get home, but they insisted that they at least see it. So as they walked me to my car, they kept pressuring me into letting them drive it, and finally I decided it would just be easier to let them. I didn't want them to not like me. I felt kind of peer pressured. And so I let Ryan drive the car, and as I went to get into the passenger seat, Corey then got in first and pulled me onto his lap, and Ryan started driving very fast into these country roads. And they began fishtailing around gravel road corners, doing 93 miles an hour and screaming that the car would only go 93 miles an hour. And while they were doing this, I kept asking them to slow down or stop, and they wouldn't. And as we went back into town, the car started making some funny noises, and they told me it was a belt and it would probably just straighten out. And I was worried. I knew that wasn't right, but I was tired and I felt really violated, and I just wanted to get home.
Why did you feel violated?
Because while Ryan was totaling my car, Corey continued to try to grope my breasts and to get his hands in my pants, and I kept trying to have to fight him off, and he wouldn't stop.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She kind of started making moves at me and Ryan.
I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir?
Kind of like this, and then, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap. She was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Jamie Swanson claims former friends Ryan Lutz and Corey Henry damaged her car during a party. Jamie also says Corey sexually assaulted her.
What time did you get back?
It was about 12:31.
Well, let me figure this timeline out. 10:30 you arrived at the party. You picked up your friend and her friend. You drove her home. 10 minutes. Let's say that's 11:15. According to you, you stayed at Anna's house for a half hour. That's 11:15. Then she wanted to go back to the party. You got her back to the party. That's 11:30. Now it's 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I'm missing an hour and a half. What happened in that hour and a half?
There were people there that wanted things from the Quick Trip in the gas station in Iota. So I took a list of what everyone wanted and went down and got it for them. I just made sure nobody drove. That was...
Oh, Jamie, that's such a crock. You made excuses to your mother because the car got totaled. I don't believe that you went there and then you took lists of things of people that wanted, and you went grocery shopping for everybody. I mean, I don't understand that.
I had a friend who was killed by a drunk driver, and ever since then, I don't want anyone driving.
Jamie, if you don't want anyone driving, then you drove your friend Anna home, and you leave her there. You don't take her back to the party.
Can I say something?
No, you weren't there. You believe this story?
I have a letter from someone that saw her.
You believe that, saw her do what?
That saw her at the Quick Trip with the other kids intoxicated.
What does that have to do with, I believe she went there. I believe she was part of this party. Whether it's because she wanted to be accepted or whether she wanted to be part of the group, she went to the party. And you believe this story that she took her friend back to the party because if she didn't take her back, somebody else would have? You believe that?
I don't think it was a smart thing to do, but I believe her, yeah.
Then you'd be responsible for your own car. Take off the blinders. I'm not finished with you. We haven't even started yet. Who was driving?
I was.
Why?
I just wanted to take the car for a ride.
Why?
Just never drove that kind of car, and I guess we just wanted to go for a ride around the block.
You had been drinking.
Had probably 2 beers.
I don't care what you say you had. If you got there at 7 o'clock,
Yes.
by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you had more than 2 beers, young man. Now, you decide you want to take the car out for a spin. Is that what you say to her? Can I take your car for a ride?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She gave me the keys, and we all hopped in the car, and we went around the block.
No. I want you to take it step by step, Ryan. Let's do a step by step. You had the keys in your hand.
Yes.
You got into the car.
Yes.
What happened next?
And we got in. I got in, started up the car. Corey got in. She got in and got on his lap.
Why did she get on your lap, sir?
I got in, and she wanted to come along, and it's just a two-seater car, no bench seat.
Oh, it's just a two-seater?
Yeah, so I'm cramped up.
There's no back seat?
No, it does have a, it's just bucket seats, but it's got a back seat also, yes.
So she wanted to come along, she didn't want to sit in the back?
I guess.
How much had you been drinking that night?
About probably 3-4 beers.
And what about the plaintiff? Did you see her drink anything?
I did not see her, but I did not get there until 11 o'clock.
Okay. Where were you up until 11 o'clock?
I was working until 9, and then a friend come and pick me up.
All right, well, that's not... You're working until 9. Where were you between 9 and 11?
We stopped in Dover and talked to a couple people, and then we went to another place, and then we arrived out there.
So you went to a couple of parties first?
Yes.
See how I made that simple for you? Hmm?
Yes.
You know, sometimes young people think that older people, not old people, but older people, they have this lapse and they were just born old. It's really not true. Bird remembers what happens when he was young. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
So she got on your lap?
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then we proceeded to leave, and as we were going out of town, she kind of started making moves at me and Ryan. And
how did she make moves at you and Ryan? Now, I want you to be very careful, because, you know, I'm really good at this. You know.
Started rubbing
keep me
up
here, because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm really good at it.
She started rubbing up against me. And, you know,
how did she do that? You know what I want you to do? I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir. I want you to show me that.
She was kind of like this, and then kind of, you know, rubbing on my shoulder.
I want to see.
Going like this and rubbing my arm and leg. And
she was rubbing your arm?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Well, she must have had her arm around your arm. Is that right?
Correct.
Show me how she had her arm around.
Kind of like this, and then, you know, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap. You know, she was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And, you know, I said no, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't know her.
Just a second. Shh, please. Please. You said, I don't want nothing to do with that.
That is correct.
And what did she say to you?
She didn't say nothing.
Did she stop?
Yes, she did.
How fast were you driving?
60, 65, 70 maybe. I don't know. I couldn't see the speedometer.
Fast?
Not out of...
60, 65, and 70. You weren't on a highway, were you?
There was...
You weren't on a highway the entire way, were you?
No, not the entire way.
What happened when you got back to the party?
After we got out, I realized that we were kind of blocking this neighbor's driveway, and I'd mentioned that to Ryan, and he proceeded to get back in the car, and they wouldn't start. And after that, we tried to pop the hood to see if we could see what was going on or try and get it started, and we couldn't do that.
So now the car doesn't start. You had the car towed, is that right?
Yes.
Now, at what point, Jamie, did you call the police and tell them that you had been sexually assaulted by Corey?
The next day after it happened.
Can I see the police report, please? What time did you get home that night, Jamie?
It was about 1:30, 2 a.m.
Who took you home?
Anna.
So, Anna, your drunken friend took you home, is that right?
Right.
Who was home?
Nobody was. My neighbor was staying with me.
So nobody's home. Where was your mother?
She went to her husband's house. He had to live in Sioux City, Iowa, because of his visa. He's from Poland.
So instead of staying with your father where you had some supervision, you decided to stay in your own house where you had no supervision. Is that right?
My neighbor was staying with me.
Your neighbor wasn't supervising you, madam. You were out until 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock. What kind of supervision is that?
Not very good.
You were having a party. Now, at what point did you find out that your car wouldn't start, that the engine had blown on your car?
The day after I had it towed, the mechanic looked at it.
You had it towed?
Yes.
The next day?
Yes.
What time?
It was probably about 3 or 4-ish.
When did you find out that the car wouldn't start that day, on the 27th of July? Did you go back there in the morning?
I went back there, yes.
What time in the morning?
What was it? 9.
And at that time, it wouldn't start?
Right.
Right? Okay. And did you call the mechanic?
Yes.
And told the mechanic, please come and tow the car? Or he said to you he would come and tow the car?
It was a different towing service.
Yeah.
It was AAA. So they towed the car. The mechanic...
What time?
3 or 4 in the afternoon.
And you waited at the house all that time?
I waited at the car.
At the car?
Yes.
Well, the car was at the house?
Yes.
You waited in the car or at the house?
I waited in the car. I was in the house for a brief moment.
So you were in the house too?
Yes.
Who was in the house?
Ryan and Aaron were there, and Jared was there, and Mike.
What time did you go to the police station?
7-ish.
In the evening?
Yes.
See what I mean? Always get yourself tripped up, honey.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry? I'm going to tell you, you're sorry. It's very easy. If you have been sexually assaulted, you don't hang around with the guys who were responsible, at least one of them who's responsible for your being sexually assaulted the whole day, and then go to the police station in the evening to report it.
I was very, very upset after it happened, and
then you go to the police station right away. You don't wait until after you find out that your car's got a blown engine and then start looking for a story. When the police asked you if you wanted to file charges with regard to the sex assault, what did you tell them?
I told them I didn't know yet. My mom was trying to make an arrangement so that I wouldn't have to deal with any of it because I was really emotional at the time.
No, this is what you told the police. You told the police that you didn't know whether you wanted to file charges or not because your mother had already contacted the two suspects' parents, and if they pay for the damage done to the motor, they won't file charges.
She was looking into my best interest so that I wouldn't have to see them again.
You saw them. You spent the day with them the next day.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Corey, what's your last name?
Henry.
Case is dismissed as relates to Corey Henry. Sit down. I don't believe a word of what you say about being sexually assaulted by this young man. But I do believe that you took a car, and I do believe that you drove it recklessly, and I believe that you took it with her permission. So that means that both of you were responsible for what happened to the car. You're responsible and you're responsible. Now let me see the bill for the damage. When you leave a 17-year-old alone, unsupervised, they get into trouble. You understand that?
Yes.
This is a bill for therapy.
She's been in counseling ever since, and I have a letter from her psychiatrist stating that.
It's your bill. Next time you stay home with your daughter. If you paid $2,600 for the car a year and a half ago, I've taken off $600 for the year that she drove the car, year and some months that she drove the car, leaving the value of the car $2,000. I consider both of you responsible. You responsible and you responsible for what happened to the car. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, she's going to pay some and you're going to pay some. Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Is suing her former roommate, 19-year-old Elizabeth Peterson, for cable bills and an apartment transfer fee.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, it's case number 570 in the matter of DeLay versus Peterson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. DeLay, you and the defendant were friends throughout high school, and no quicker way to destroy a friendship very often than to become roommates in college. The two of you decided to share an apartment together. You signed a lease to a two-bedroom apartment. It didn't work out, and you both moved out.
Correct.
You paid the transfer fee, allowing each of you to move into a one-bedroom apartment. You want Ms. Peterson to be responsible for half of that transfer fee, plus her part of the cable bill that you say was in your name.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson says that your behavior and things that went on in the apartment made it impossible to stay there. She says that you wanted to move out, so you pay the transfer fee. And as far as the cable is concerned, she says you put a password on there that precluded her from using the internet and cable. She has no intention of paying it. She's counterclaiming for some nonsense. She wants you to return all the rent she paid because she didn't have a good time. Well, that's about what it is. So that's ridiculous. But I'll let you explain it to me in a very short period of time.
Okay.
Okay. When did you move into the apartment?
We signed the lease July 8th, and I moved in July 8th.
And Ms. Peterson moved in 2 months later?
Correct.
Okay. When did you sign the transfer agreement?
I don't have the exact date, but it was end of January. I moved into my new apartment, I believe, end of January, early February.
All right. So that Ms. Peterson lived there September, October, November, December. And when did you move out?
I moved out on the 16th of January.
Now, you're going to explain to me, Ms. Peterson, why you are not responsible for one half of the transfer fee that permitted the two of you to go your separate ways. You were both unhappy, correct?
Yes.
Both unhappy. You explain to me why you should not be responsible for half that transfer fee.
Okay. Back in July, in the summer, Veronica expressed to me that she wanted me to find a new roommate to cover her half of the lease. And I went forward with that, and I found a roommate.
In July?
In July, before we were even living together, because of the cable internet bill, because I said I wasn't going to pay it. Because I didn't need it. I don't watch TV, and I had friends who were moving upstairs who said I could use their internet, or I could go down to the common room where they offer it for free. So I found a roommate, and in the end of August, the first weekend before school, I spoke to Veronica, and she said, "Oh, I'm not moving out anymore." So.
And in September you stayed?
I did, because I had
Fine.
no choice.
Fine, you stayed.
Right.
But things were not good.
No. In November, I moved most of my things upstairs to my friend's apartment, and I was hardly ever at the apartment. If I was, I locked myself in my room because I didn't feel comfortable with her and her boyfriend being there all the time. I was scared, and I felt harassed and threatened by her.
Listen to me. Then you should be very happy that she said, let's sign off on this lease, and it'll cost us each $600, and then we're out of each other's hair.
Well, at that point, I was so frustrated with everything I had been put through that...
Get unfrustrated. Get unfrustrated and grow up. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah, say whatever you want to say.
My mom and my father and I all discussed commuting because we didn't want to give Veronica any more money. I had paid for her boyfriend to sleep over multiple times. I was never there.
Listen to me.
It was like having a third roommate, though.
I don't care. Listen, your parents care if you're unhappy.
Right.
Your parents care. Courts don't care if you're unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Courts don't care if you don't like her boyfriend sleeping over. They don't care.
Well, there's a clause in the lease that says that no person can stay more than 14 nights, and I kept track on a calendar, and it exceeded the 14 nights, and we got a possible eviction notice from it.
Yeah.
Your Honor,
Just a second.
Okay.
All of that suggests to me that you should be very happy to find a new place all by yourself.
I wasn't even living there, though, at that point.
That's your choice.
Right.
That's your choice. What do you want?
I wanted to say something on Elizabeth's defense, Your Honor.
That?
I'm her mother, and on December 16th, my husband and I went into the Peninsula. We hooked up the cable and the TV and the DVD player. And
because Veronica would no longer
just
let
a
me
second.
use hers.
Right. Elizabeth wasn't able to use it. We went downstairs and we met with the Peninsula management, and we wanted Veronica to sign off the lease. That's what we needed, so we wouldn't be responsible for the apartment any longer. And what we were going to do was have Elizabeth commute. So there was no reason for us to pay a transfer fee. But Veronica is the one that wanted to move out. She wanted her own apartment. And yes, we did want that too.
Your daughter wasn't staying there. She wasn't staying there because she was unhappy. Either she breaks the lease or she signs a transfer agreement. Those are the options.
But that was the option for Veronica too. She could have broken the lease.
Just to say, she could have. This is a much better thing to do, rather than breaking the lease, to sign an orderly transfer agreement so that the landlord doesn't say, I'm stuck because they broke the lease. What I want to do is I want to move into another place. This is what it's going to cost. Otherwise, I'm on the hook for the entire year lease from January until the following June.
But I didn't trust that Veronica would do anything. She hadn't done it in the past.
I don't care what you trusted. Right now, it's a fait accompli. It's done. Your daughter is responsible for half the transfer fee on the apartment. There's no issue with regard to that. The only issue that I have for you, Ms. DeLea, is did you have a password or any device that precluded the defendant from using the internet and or cable?
I had a password.
Just a second. That's either a yes or a no.
On the internet, yes.
Did she say to you at any point, I'm not interested in cable?
She told me in November.
That's either a yes or a no.
In November, yes.
What month's cable do you think she's responsible for half of?
September through January.
She's not.
Okay.
She's not responsible for any of those.
Your Honor, she disconnected my cable in December, and even though I was still paying for it, prevented me from watching it.
I don't care. There has to be a contract. There has to be an agreement.
Your Honor, I have
Listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
There has to be a contract and an agreement.
I have one.
For
I
whom?
have an email, her writing that she would be responsible for half of all the cable and internet and electric bills.
Just a second. Did you tell me that you put a password so she could not use the internet?
There was a password on it originally, but... Excuse me.
I'm asking your daughter a question. Sit. You too.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Veronica DeLea says her former roommate Elizabeth Peterson owes for cable bills and an apartment transfer fee. Elizabeth is countersuing for the return of rent and harassment.
I'm asking whether she told you she wasn't going to use the internet, and you put a password on there that precluded her from tapping into the internet in your apartment.
I was required to put a password on the internet from the beginning, so yes, there was a password.
Did she have it?
No, ma'am.
Then she's not responsible for it.
Okay.
But she's responsible for half the transfer fee.
I just have...
Put your hand down.
Okay.
Stop being a baby. That's what you're responsible for. Just tell me what half the transfer fee is.
Half the transfer is $625.
Fine. You owe her $625 for that. Now, you want to give me your counterclaim in 30 seconds or less?
I have a breakdown of the
I'm not
counterclaim.
interested in your breakdown. Yeah, you have 30 seconds or less to tell me about your counterclaim, which is nonsense.
Well, my countersuit was because Veronica was using drugs in the apartment, and I'm on a full scholarship at my school, and that really, I could have lost my scholarship if she got caught at the apartment because we both signed the lease.
But you didn't.
No, we didn't. But one of the security guards approached me saying that he smelled.
You can't tell me anything that a security guard told you.
I have a report from him.
You can't tell me anything that anybody else said to you or wrote out in a statement that is hearsay. Do you have a police report?
I talked to the lieutenant of the police station because the security guard had him come down.
That's hearsay.
Well, I called and they didn't have a report. I was very surprised.
Listen, you happy now with your new roommates?
Yes, but I'm unhappy that my scholarship was in jeopardy. Well, and it was like having a third roommate there at the apartment.
My dear, did you lose your scholarship?
No.
Good. You owe her $625 transfer fee and your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She demanded that I had to ask her permission for every visitor.
But I asked just in case I had a test the next day because the walls are paper thin, you can hear everything through them.
We had to divide the cabinets in the kitchen.
I asked for one cabinet to put all my snacks in because I eat all organic.
I don't know. She just went crazy, pretty much.
She just doesn't care, so I'm going to live with people who aren't as selfish.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Polk versus Eskine. Step forward, please.
Victor Polk is suing the mother of his son's friend, Renata Eskine, for the cost to fix his car. Victor says Renata's son, 17-year-old Kerry Thomas, damaged the vehicle when he tried to jump over it.
Who jumped over the car? Raise your hand.
I did.
Stand over there. Mr. Polk, it is your claim that the defendant damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
He was playing a game with your son. I assume your son is sitting over there?
Yes, ma'am. That's Valentina.
And the game was to jump over your car.
Yeah.
Mrs. Eskine's son jumped over your car, landed on your car, dented your car. You want him to pay for your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mrs. Eskine has some ridiculous defense. She says that your son goaded her son into jumping over the car.
That's correct.
That's wrong. Nobody goads somebody into doing something that's wrong and doesn't take responsibility.
He took responsibility.
Then he has to take responsibility for paying for the damage that he caused to the car. Reasonable?
Reasonable.
Great. So the only question is how much, right?
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because he didn't jump it alone, and he wasn't involved in it alone. They did it together. Both parents are both.
Just a second, Miss Eskine, are you telling me that this young man jumped on and damaged the car?
Yes.
Okay, you, talk to me.
Tell him.
You, talk to me.
Well, we were outside one October night. Me,
Listen,
him, and so.
I don't care if it was an October night, whether it was starry or not. All I want to know is you, an idiot over here, were playing a game of jumping over a car. Which idiot fell on the car?
I slid into the car.
Not him.
No, ma'am.
Then your mother is wrong. Put your hand down. Miss Eskind, I'm telling you what the law is. That's why you're here. Not what you feel in your gut as a mother. What the law is. He was lucky. He didn't cause damage to the car. He wasn't lucky. He did cause damage to the car.
The mother caused damage also.
No, my dear, not according to your son. You don't have your listening ears on. Not according to your son. According to your son, the only one that went into the car, slid into the car, was him. That's what he told me. So your thinking process, while understandable that the boys are playing, and they should both be responsible, is not what the law is. The law does not prescribe that he has to pay for damage that he did, because he can say, no, I'm not doing it. You want to do it to your father's car? That's fine. No, I'm not doing it. And if he didn't do it, then there wouldn't be damage to the car. Is that right, Mr. Eskein?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The only question I have for you,
I'm not
sir,
finished, Your Honor.
You're finished. The only question I have for you, sir, is I looked very carefully at your complaint. You said that initially wasn't such a big deal, but then you realized that you had just had the car in a custom paint job.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's a designer car. What kind of car is it?
Vintage 1991 Ford Mustang 5.0 convertible.
Okay. This incident happened on what date?
We don't have a date.
What date?
October the 10th.
I want to see the bill for painting the car prior to October 10th.
My initial paint job, my painter.
Don't give me a big story.
I don't have
Mr. Polk.
I don't have the receipt.
That's my problem.
The painter that painted my car, his name's Carlos. He's in America on a work visa from Mexico. I went back to Carlos to see if he could get me a receipt. Our business was cash-based, so therefore he did not...
Show me a withdrawal from your bank for $2,300.
I don't have a withdrawal
I don't
receipt.
believe you, sir. Then I don't believe that you spent $2,300 to paint your car. That's my problem. Got what I mean? I want to see a picture of the damage to the car.
Sure. These are before and after pictures. If you take a look at the paint job on that car, you'll see that it's an immaculate paint job.
It may be an immaculate paint job, sir. You should have gotten me a receipt.
Why is it in the front yard?
Just a second. I'm not speaking to you.
I was showing it off.
Put your hand down.
I'm proud of my car.
Why is it in the front yard?
Well, this whole fender has to be painted. There's no question about that. And it has to be fixed. There's a dent in it. Now I'll see your estimates to fix it. Oh, so this time you took it to a Chevrolet place?
Yes.
The first time you took it to an all-cash guy?
Carlos is no longer in Nashville, in my hometown.
Yeah, you're going to have to get it done for less. What do you want?
Your Honor, he's been working on this car for 5 years. He redid the inside of it.
I've got more than $10,000.
Let me ask you this question, sir. Did you discuss with your child the game he was playing over your car?
Oh, yes, I did.
I want you to tell me about the discussion that you were having with the idiot about jumping over the car.
I told him that it was a ridiculous thing to do.
And what did he say to you?
He said he wasn't thinking. And that's the only explanation. Would you like to get up and tell her?
Yes, ma'am. Can I get up there and talk to you quick?
Oh, be my pleasure.
Oh. Well, first place, I didn't jump over the car at all. Like, I'm sorry. But the whole thing started, like, when we were playing basketball.
If you say anything, a sentence with the word like in it, you can sit down.
Okay. This is what happened. We started playing basketball, and I bet him. I was like, I bet you I can jump over my dad's car.
Sit down. I don't want to hear anymore. You're an idiot.
Man, can I finish real quick?
Sit down. Just sit down. Mrs. Eskein has to pay for your car, sir, but she's not going to pay any more for the car than I think it's worth, because I don't think that you have to have the whole car repainted.
You do not understand how much time and effort and money I've sunk into this car.
Your son should have been more careful with it.
I cannot.
Listen to me. Your son should have been more careful with it.
I understand that.
Good. Shouldn't have been playing basketball around it. You think it would have gotten dented if a basketball hit it?
That's why I don't let them play basketball near my car.
It was right in the yard by the street.
Did I ask you anything? You're responsible because he's responsible. He's bigger than you are.
I never said I wasn't.
Good. Okay, now what's the piece of paper you want to show me?
This is the very first estimate he brought to me.
That I'll see.
On the night of the
That I'll
election,
see.
of the president election. I told him I did not mind working with him on half of those damages.
So is what you're telling me that the first estimate is just Price's Collision Center was $614.42?
Correct.
This is what he gave you first?
Yes.
Can you explain the disparity to me, sir, between $614.42 and the $2,300 you want now?
That is just for replacement of the fender. It is not for matching of the paint or anything like that.
That's not true. It says
she told me on our
That's not true. But that's not. Hey, that's not true. It says paint labor 3.4 hours at $38 an hour, $129. Body labor 3 hours, $114. Parts $219. It has everything here. It all adds up to $614.42.
The car could not be painted on just the fender.
I don't know that, sir, at all. That's
I
your
never
first
received
estimate.
that.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $614.42. That's
boyfriend, carpenter Mike Hammer, for selling her dining room set and her DVD and CD collections. Lisa says Mike was angry over their breakup.
All rise. Now, this is case number 153 on the calendar in the matter of Ribeiro versus Hemmer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Ribeiro, you and Mr. Hemmer used to have a relationship, and according to what I read, you moved in with him with your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that didn't last very long.
No.
You decided to leave him.
Yes.
You didn't tell him that you were leaving him.
No, I did not.
Left him a note, according to you.
I left him a note.
And left.
Mm-hmm.
When you came back to retrieve your property, which was a short time later, according to you, most of your valuable property was gone.
Yes.
And according to you, Mr. Hemmer sold that property the weekend that you left at a yard sale.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are also suing him for harassment.
Yes.
And slander, because you say that his constant calls to your place of business caused you to lose your job, and he said things to coworkers that were unpleasant about you. Mr. Hemmer says that you retrieved everything that was yours. He doesn't know anything whatsoever about this harassment. He was merely concerned about your whereabouts, so he called to find out where you were. And he said that when you came back with the police, you took all your property. When did you move in with him?
I moved in with them the beginning of January, and we'd started...
Of 2004?
Of 2004, yes.
How old is your daughter?
She's 11 years old.
How long did you know Mr. Hemmer before you moved in with him?
Approximately about 2.5 years. I met him at a friend's birthday party. He lived down in the valley, and I lived up in Camarillo at the time. And so driving back and forth, we were both paying rents, or at least I was. And he says, well, hey, why don't you go ahead and, you know, cut your bill down for rent. You could come stay with me, save up some money. And so he offered for me to come and move in with him. And up until that point, we'd gotten along just fine.
Okay. When did you move out?
I moved out April 9th. I left while he was gone, and I went up north to stay with my sister just to kind of get away I took a few days off of work. I didn't return until the evening of the 13th, and I went over there on the 14th.
Had you spoken to him between the 9th and the 14th?
No, I had not, but I had
What
spoken.
did you say in the note that you say you left for him?
It was basically short and sweet. I just let him know that it wasn't working out between us, and that I was you know, afraid to tell him in person because of the way that he'd been treating me while we were living together, and that I would no longer be with him. I didn't want to be with him, that I would be moving out and coming back and getting my belongings that next week.
But you didn't tell him where you were going?
No, I did not.
You returned on the 14th. Did you return alone or with anybody?
I brought a friend with me, and I had a moving van also. I went there, and he didn't answer the door. I'm not sure if he was home or not, but the key that I had, the locks were changed already, so I wasn't able to gain access into the house.
Were you ever able to get into the house or get into any place where you'd store the property at any time?
Yes, I was able. I went back with the police that weekend, the weekend of the 17th.
Okay. What property did you get when you went back?
I retrieved some of my daughter's toys, our clothing, a few of our personal belongings.
Why didn't you take everything?
I took everything that was left there. I had a whole CD collection of about 250 CDs, and he took all of my classic rock CDs were missing. I had a DVD collection, except for the children's movies. All the other DVDs were missing. He even had a girl over there when the police came.
Listen to me carefully. You had a moving van, according to you, with you. You didn't have a moving van for your CDs and your DVDs.
I had a lot of stuff at his house. I brought my dining room table over to his house because he had a...
Did you take that?
No, it was gone. When I came back with the police and the moving truck, my dining room table was missing. I also had a couch and dressers there. Those were there, but they were, my couch was ripped up. The dresser drawers were kind of smashed in and broken. My child's toy box, you know, I had a bunch of stuff there for a moving van.
What did you take in the moving van?
In the moving van, I was only able to take toys and clothes and some of my CDs.
What about furniture?
And my couch and the dressers that were broken.
What had you wanted to take in the moving van?
I wanted to take my dining room table, also my daughter's CD Walkman, my daughter's boom box, her PlayStation and all her games were missing. I had a home stereo systems, and that was also missing. Various kitchen and bathroom items, you know, of
course,
course,
well, that's
knickknacks,
nonsense. I don't want to be, don't bother me about that stuff. Mr. Hemmer, what happened to all this stuff?
Oh, Your Honor, I had my own CD collection, my own DVD collection, which she integrated hers with. I don't know what she was saying was hers and wasn't hers. Everything that I had, that I possessed, was at the house.
You know what's yours and what's not.
Miss Ribeiro.
Sorry.
Exactly. I do know what's mine and what's hers. The problem with that being is she left, and I had no idea.
Dining room table and chairs.
It was out in the garage when I left. I took all of her stuff and put it out in the garage.
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
I don't want to hear you yet. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I spoke to you. You testified. Now I'm speaking to him. He has an opportunity to speak. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Dining room table and chairs. According to you, you put that out in the garage.
Along with the dressers, along with the...
Shh. I asked you about one thing. I said dining room table and chairs.
Yes.
You put that out in the garage.
Yes.
PlayStation.
Everything that was hers, I boxed up and took and put in the garage, taking my own personal stuff out of the garage so it'd have room so it'd be enclosed.
I have a witness, Your Honor, that saw him selling these things.
Did you?
I apologize.
That's ridiculous.
Boombox, a Walkman, her own little entertainment center, PlayStation, all of those things, including the dining room table and chairs, you packed up or just put in the garage, in storage, waiting for her. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor. And there was things missing when she left, so she took stuff.
And according to you, Miss Ribeiro, you have a witness who saw him do what?
I have a witness, a friend of his, her sister, was there on the day that he was having the yard sale and actually described items of mine that he was selling.
We'll call that witness. Where's the witness?
Witness got a name?
Michelle Newman. He even took my daughter's cold coins, Your
I didn't take nothing.
It's my kid.
Yeah, you should take
If you
care of
say
your
one
kid's
more word
stuff.
to each other, you're both leaving. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Can you give me any reason why Miss Newman would make up this story about you?
I don't understand it.
I can only think of one reason. Can you think of what that is?
No.
Because what she says is true.
And later today.
So you didn't think?
Correct, Your Honor.
He didn't. For somebody who brings these pictures, I wouldn't speak.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Ribeiro says ex-boyfriend Mike Hemmer got rid of her personal property after they broke up. Lisa claims Mike sold the belongings at a garage sale.
Miss Newman, how do you know these people?
Okay, my brother's best friends with Mike Hemmer. I've known him for years, ever since I was a small child.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to the weekend that would have followed April 9th, 2004. Were you at Mr. Hemmer's house?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I went there with my brother, and when we had walked up, there was...
What did you go there for?
Just visit.
Okay.
And when I had walked up, there was a bunch of stuff from the house on the front lawn, and they were obviously stuff of Lisa's. I've seen them a million times before in the house.
Do you remember what they were?
Yeah.
What?
There was a glass dining room table with leather chairs, numerous CDs, DVD players, VCR.
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Hemmer about these items?
Yeah, I did. I asked him where Lisa was. And
What did he say?
He said that she had taken off a couple days earlier, and he kind of joked, said that when she came back, that her stuff would be gone.
Did you spend any time there that day?
A short amount of time.
Did anybody come up while you were there to make any purchases of the stuff that was in the yard?
Actually, as we were walking up, there was a box of German beer mugs, about 12, 15 of them in a box, and someone was buying them as I walked up.
Mr. Hemmer, were those your beer mugs?
I did not sell any beer mugs. I don't know what
So
she's
you don't know
talking about.
you don't know
That's
anything.
not true. I've seen the money.
You don't know anything about beer mugs. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not telling you that. I'm saying I never
Do you
sold
have
any.
Miss Ribeiro, did you have any beer mugs?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me about them.
They were beer mugs from Germany that have been in my family ever since I was a small kid, and they were all, you know, individually handcrafted and with different, you know, visions of Germany and cities inside Germany on it.
Okay. Miss Newman, I assume you've known Mr. Hemmer longer than you've known Miss Ribeiro. Is that right?
Yes.
Did your brother ever have a falling out with him?
No.
Mr. Hemmer, can you give me any reason to suggest why Miss Newman would make up this story about you?
No, I can't give you any insight on that.
I can't either.
I don't understand it.
The only thing that I can figure out, sir, I can only think of one reason why she would testify the way she has against you. Can you think of what that is?
No, I can't actually. There's no reason.
Because what she says is true.
Well, I never took
That's
money.
the only reason I could figure out that Miss Newman, who is not a friend of the plaintiff's, who's known you for years, who is not a friend of yours per se, but she is the sister of a man who's a friend of yours, I can think of no reason why she would make up a story about coming and seeing all this stuff on your front lawn when, Mr. Hemmer, you say in your answer that you were so concerned about the plaintiff that you called her office where she works frequently to find out where she was. Didn't call the police, did you?
No.
Listen to me, Mr. Hemmer. If you're living with someone and their child and they disappear without leaving you a note, which is what you said happened, that there was no note, no nothing, which is why you called a place of business. It seemed to me you wouldn't call a place of business once or twice or three times, but the first thing you would do is call the police and say, my girlfriend and her child are missing. Right, Mr. Hemmer?
Well,
that's what a normal person would do.
You would assume so.
Well, one would assume that that's what a normal together person would do. Just like a normal together person wouldn't take the stuff, put it on the front lawn and say, you want this stuff? It's yours. So I cannot, Mr. Hemmer, think of one reason why Miss Newman would come here and testify at what I believe is some risk to her own personal safety, perhaps, unless what she's testifying to is true. And since all of the things that the plaintiff indicates were missing, including family heirlooms, cannot be replaced, I'm awarding her a judgment consistent with her request in the amount of $5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
These are excused. You may step out.
But he was just very controlling. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere without clearing it through him.
Sometimes women need to be controlled when they act a certain way.
My daughter, he would pick on her.
If I asked her daughter to pick up her toys or to do something, that was being completely demonstrative.
He'd go flinging the cat off of the table just to get a reaction out of my daughter and out of me.
If I shooed the cat away when I was eating dinner, that was being cruel to it.
I just knew that it wasn't going to get any better and it was time to go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bardsley versus Duncan. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Matthew Bardsley is suing his former co-worker, construction worker John Duncan, for damaging his car by covering it with snow and gravel. John says he was playing a practical joke and is countersuing, claiming Matthew had him fired.
Mr. Bardsley,
yes.
According to what I read, you were in the parking lot of a store where you work.
Yes.
In a children's toy store?
Yes.
You were with someone else in the car. And Mr. Duncan, who was someone who you know, was a friend of yours?
A coworker.
Did you know him socially?
Not really.
It was in the wintertime. According to you, he was sort of acting like an idiot. And he was working on a plow, a snow plow. I assume it was a bad snowstorm because you say that he lifted up the plow. And what did he do?
He persisted to dump the plow full
Not
of...
persisted.
Or
Proceeded.
Proceeded to dump the plow full of snow and large rocks and gravel on the top of my vehicle.
He was being dumb.
I think he thought it would be funny.
That was pretty dumb.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matthew Bardsley says former co-worker John Duncan vandalized his car by dumping snow on top of the roof.
So after the snow melted and got all the stuff off the car, you noticed that there was a lot of damage to your car, and you want Mr. Duncan to pay for the damage.
Yes.
Can I see the photographs that you have?
Thanks.
Mr. Duncan, who is this lady?
This is my girlfriend, Tiffany.
Was she there that day?
She was not.
So why is she here, sir?
To testify that we did call the insurance company to have his car taken care of.
Oh, okay.
It's from July. It's from February.
Oh, well, you showed me what it was like after you had the car fixed, sir. Is that right?
That was just a picture of the car so you could match up the other pictures to it.
But this is after you had it fixed.
It hasn't been fixed yet.
Well, I don't see. This picture, according to you, was taken February of 2004.
Yes.
Showing all of the dents and stuff in the car.
Uh-huh.
And I don't see the dents or anything else in this picture.
Well,
and this was taken
from
in
far away.
June of 2004. February, March, April, May, June. So you didn't have the car fixed?
I haven't had the car fixed yet.
This was not a good picture to bring.
What, Your Honor?
This was not a good picture to bring.
Okay.
Now, you were working a snow plow?
Yes.
Why did you dump the snow on Mr. Bardsley's car?
I was plowing the parking lot of the store. Mr. Bardsley pulled up next to me while I was working on it. Him and his friend got out of the car. They actually gathered some snow off of the roof of his car and actually threw it at me while I was driving the plow.
Threw it at you?
Snowballs.
Snowballs.
While I was driving the plow.
Okay.
So then I picked up a scoop of snow, dumped it off his car, didn't think about the rocks being in from the gravel from the
So you didn't think?
Correct.
Your Honor.
He didn't. For somebody who brings these pictures, I wouldn't speak. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you didn't think about all the schmutz that might have been in the snow, rocks, gravel, all kinds of things.
Correct.
So he wants you to pay for all the damage that you caused to his car, and you say you shouldn't have to pay for that because...
After the accident, I believe it was the following day I saw him at work, he goes, hey, there's some dents on my car. I go, sorry about that. Let me give my insurance lady a call. They said, not a problem. Have him take his car down to the shop. We'll have it all taken care of for him. I saw him the next day at work. I told him that. He said, okay, not a problem. I then had the weekend off from work. I went back to work, and they said, sorry, you're fired. He filed a claim through the store.
So he took the scoop of junk and put it on your car, and he acknowledged that it was a dumb thing to do, and that he said to you, I'm sorry, I'll get in touch with my insurance. Did he tell you that?
No, he didn't.
Did he ever say anything about his insurance?
He told me that he would try contacting his insurance company.
Okay.
And see what he could do.
And did you speak to him again with regard to his insurance?
No, I didn't.
So you filed the claim with the store?
I filed the claim with the store before he talked to me about it.
Did they ever give you any money?
No, they didn't. They told me that he acted out of the scope of his employment.
Well, it is out of the scope of his employment. His employment doesn't give him the option of acting like an idiot. Your counterclaim is that since he reported this incident to the company, you lost your job.
Correct.
Explain to me how that's a lawsuit.
I had already had it all set up with my insurance company to have his car taken care of. Had he just allowed me to take care of it through the insurance company, I'd still be employed. I'd still have my medical benefits and my 401k, which I brought.
It's his prerogative. I would have said to him as soon as it happened, listen, I'm really sorry. I'm going to pay for this immediately. Not my insurance company. I'll pay you for it. In any event, he has the right to notify. First of all, you were behaving badly.
Correct.
You know, he acted like a fool. Somebody like you shouldn't be employed in that capacity. Because if he threw a snowball at you, that might have been a stupid thing to do. But the reaction to that wasn't to take a scoopful of snow or debris and other stuff and throw it on his car. So your counterclaim's dismissed because the counterclaim's ridiculous. How much is it going to cost to fix your car, sir?
I have an estimate right here, Your Honor. I got two of them, actually. It's about $2,800 worth of damage.
What kind of car is this?
It's a 92 Subaru SVX.
You still insured by the same company that insured you in February, sir?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Tell your insurance company that they're going to owe you $2,700 because that's the least of the two estimates that I have. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,700. You working now, Mr. Duncan?
Yes.
Good. What kind of work are you doing?
Contractor.
Good. Are you happy?
No.
You want to go back to work for the children's toy store?
I do.
They don't want you. Thank you.
Stryer and her father, Dennis Ottenstryer, for fines and legal fees resulting from Holly's wild parties.
Order. All rise.
That's case number 304 on the calendar in the matter of Irani versus Ottenstryer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Irani, you had a condo that you were renting.
Yes.
And you rented that condo to Mr. Ottenstreyer's daughter, who is under 21, and he co-signed the lease for her. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you live in the same town?
Yes.
Why wasn't your daughter living home?
She just moved out.
That's not an answer. I know she moved out. That's something that's clear to me, Mr. Ottenstryer.
Just to be on her own. She had her job,
Mhm.
and she was working, and she wanted to have a place of her own.
And you thought that that was a good idea?
Yes.
And you trusted her?
Right.
So you trusted her to act as a responsible adult?
Right.
Clearly, she did not do that.
Correct.
Because what happened was she violated the rules of the condo. She had a pet, which she wasn't allowed to do. Correct?
Yes.
She threw noisy parties, and there were complaints on at least 4 occasions. And ultimately, they were either going to terminate her proprietary lease on the condo unless she got rid of your daughter, but you moved out. Yes. Your father gave her an extra month's rent and said goodbye. Unfortunately, because of your actions, Miss Irani was charged money for violating the noise ordinances of the condo. She tried to fight them. Your tenancy ended up costing her how much?
Okay, I paid $942.50 for my attorney, and then there is a paper for all the details of all the charges, which
I'd like to
is
see it.
$4,921.
Okay, so that's what Miss Irani had to pay as a result of dog fines, police being called to the house for loud noises and parties, because you, Mr. Ottenstreier, had full confidence in your daughter's ability to live on her own, act responsibly, and you were wrong. Your defense is, that wasn't in my contract.
Correct.
Convince me better, sir.
Well, in the contract itself, there is no statement of the $400 fine for police calls. There is a part that says about noise, that type of thing. That's not specified in there.
What does it say about noise, that you're not allowed to make noise?
Well, it says be quiet in the hall and this type of thing, keep your stereos down. And then it says see attachment. There's no attachment.
Did you ask about the attachment?
No.
What do you do for a living?
Optometrist.
Do you have your own business?
Yes.
Do you rent space, or do you own the building where you have your...
Now we rent.
When you signed a lease, did you have a lawyer?
Yes.
So you do know about lawyers.
Yes.
And if something says see attachment and there's no attachment, what do you do?
Well, to me, it's void. I mean, if it's not in there.
I didn't
I'm not
ask you
signing.
what it means.
Oh.
I said, what do you do when it says see attached? You say, where is the attachment?
I looked for attachment, didn't see it.
So why didn't you call her?
I assumed that she wasn't concerned about it, I guess. She
I'm
didn't put it in the
concerned
contract.
about it.
Yeah.
What's next, Mr. Ottenstreier?
Well, the next thing is that we renewed the lease. At the renewal of the lease, she never said anything about us owing money, and there were 3 police calls before
When
that.
did you renew the lease?
On 6/20/06, a year after, and there were 3 police calls before that.
Let me ask you a question. Had you been contacted about those 3 police calls?
I still have never received a bill.
Did your daughter tell you that there were 3 police calls?
She called me each time after the police were called.
That's not my question. I said, did your daughter tell you about the 3 police calls?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Told me that she had a party and that there were police calls. The police were called and they ticketed her.
What did you say to her?
Don't have any more parties. Quit having the parties.
Just a second. Did you say to her after the first time, don't have any more parties?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the second time?
Sure.
Did you say it to her after the third time?
Yes.
And when you renewed the lease, did you co-sign the lease despite the fact that she had disobeyed your instructions?
Yes.
Now it would seem to me, Mr. Ottenstreier, that you would not be as trusting and as confident in your daughter to do the right thing. So why would you co-sign the lease for her?
Well, there have been 6 months went by with no police calls, and you hope your child is going to take the right road. They make mistakes, but you keep hoping they're going to make the right choice.
And what about the dog, sir?
The dog was there temporarily as a friend's dog, but stayed there. She didn't have it as a pet.
The dog was there about 3 weeks, not even.
Temporarily is not 3 weeks. Temporarily is when somebody comes over to visit you and they bring their dog. Why should she be out all this money? If I have to make a judgment as to who's got to be out this $5,000, who do you think it's going to be? The person who made the noise or the person who had to pay the fines?
Well, we do have papers that say that she's responsible for, well...
For any fines that are charged to the tenants that she's responsible for.
Of course, as between she and the condo association, she's responsible.
So that's
I'm speaking. The condo association doesn't want to have to go looking for you. I mean, I can't believe that you actually are a professional man. The condo says, as between you, owner, and the board, you, owner, are responsible for the fines. That doesn't prevent her from going after you because you're the one that made the noise. You're the one that brought the dogs in, something that you knew. You knew it when you signed the lease the second time. You knew she had violated the rules. Could have said to her at that time, listen, you violated my trust. You come home. Come home. I'm not co-signing for you. You didn't listen to me the first time. You didn't listen to me the second time. Unless you didn't want her home, sir, because she created too much trouble at home, which is another problem.
Doesn't Judy, when she renews the lease, didn't she take any responsibility? Should have told us at that time that there were fines at that point?
They probably didn't come after her for those fines until after she left.
Yes, they did.
Before she renewed the lease?
Yes.
When did you renew the lease, sir?
6/20/06.
Actually, it's July 2007.
And when were you first notified of any fine? Because clearly, if you were notified of fines before you renewed the lease, I am not considering any fines before you renewed the lease. Afterwards, maybe. But then you're on notice.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor, I have her email, what she told me. She
I don't
said
care
that
what she told you.
didn't do
I don't care if she
anything
told you
wrong.
that the sky was green. Listen to me very carefully.
I believed her.
I don't care whether you believed her.
And later today,
This is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you've had possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Judy Irani claims former tenant Holly Ottenstreier threw wild parties in her rental condo. She is suing for association fines and legal fees.
Okay, now when were you notified of the fines?
Actually, after she had the police call, they sent me a letter and I discussed it with her. I said, there is fine, you cannot go on living like this.
When did you have this conversation with her? Before?
After the first call, after the first police call.
Well, the first police call was in 2005.
Yes.
When were you notified by the condo association of the fines, is my question.
Maybe in a month or so.
Month after 2005?
Yes.
Well, then you should not have renewed her lease.
Your Honor, she was telling me that the neighbors are bothering her. The property manager who was telling me that she had loud noise, he was fired,
Ms.
and I
Irani.
did not have the police reports. As soon as I had the police report, I talked to her father.
Ms. Irani, how much were you renting the apartment to her for?
$550 and then $640 later on because she asked for the carpet to be changed.
All of these things were done prior to you executing a new lease. You said July of 2006 is when you entered into a new lease. And there was nothing after that.
Because she was out in September.
No, listen to me very carefully. You have a police call August of 05, another one August of 05. There are dog fines in October of 05. There's another dog fine in November of 05. I don't know what this means, non-eviction. What does that mean?
Because they were asking me to ask her to leave, and she was saying that they are so unfair to her.
Oh, no. That's your problem, Miss Irani. I'm sorry, I was very heavy on them, and rightly so. But you're a grown-up. You should not have renewed their lease.
Your Honor, I have 2 teenagers that I fully trust. I believed her, and that I did not believe the property manager.
I would have brought eviction proceedings against her immediately. Immediately. They asked you to evict her in October of 2005.
But, Your
and
Honor,
instead of evicting her, you renewed a lease in July.
Your Honor, I have her email, what she told me. She
I don't
said
care
that
what she told you. I don't care if she told you that the sky was green. Listen to me very carefully.
I believed her.
I don't care whether you believed her. It's not relevant to me. It's not relevant whether you believed her. You were told by your condo association to evict her in 2005. Instead of evicting her, what you did was you renewed her lease in 2006.
But, Your Honor, they never provided any evidence, anything.
They don't have to provide you with evidence, madam.
I asked for.
They don't have to provide you with evidence. She's not going to pay you because it was your responsibility to evict her, not to sign on a new lease. There are other people that live there. They were forced to live with her, making a lot of noise and having loud parties, having a dog when they weren't supposed to. They asked you to evict her. You're the owner of the condo, and you said, no, I'm not going to do it.
Your Honor, I called her parents and I told her mother about the dog. And she said she's just doing it for 1 weekend and it's going to be gone. She told me that the police came because there was an ambulance. She was not feeling good. She was not doing that.
Listen, they came 5 times. She was a very sick girl. It's your problem, and it's your fault. You should never, never have renewed the lease with them. Never.
Your Honor, I received the police report in August, and I talked to her parents right away after I saw the police report. I made an appointment with them. I saw them, and I said, this is how
You should have evicted her, and you didn't. You should have
Because
evicted
I believed her.
Well, that's your problem, madam. I believe that you believed her. I believe that you also like the rent. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't think that she was lying, but I guess I learned my lesson.
I feel sorry for Judy because she did trust my daughter.
She had underage drinking. She had marijuana in the home.
One of my friends was caught with marijuana in my apartment, and I should have known that he had it, but I didn't.
I trusted her.
One of the tickets was for me and 2 friends that were sitting on the couch talking, and the police gave me a ticket for that.
I'll be more careful with younger people.
They got to go out in the world sometime, and they don't always make the right choices, but you trust them and you hope eventually they're going to come around. She has.
I don't party anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Benavente versus Lanza, step forward, please.
21-year-old Monique Benavente is suing the father of her child, 24-year-old Carlos Lanza, for 2 truck payments. Carlos says Monique offered to help him out.
How old are you, Miss Benavente?
21.
How old are you, Mr. Lanza?
24.
2 of you have a child together.
Correct.
How old is that child?
5 months, 2 weeks.
Is that your only child?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Mr. Lanza?
Yes.
Your only child?
Excuse me?
What?
He told me he had another son.
You have another child?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell you had another child?
I did.
Why?
I thought I had a child with the girl that pregnancy test never came back and said it was mine. So it wasn't, shouldn't have told her something like that because it wasn't relevant.
That's not what he told me.
This is all getting too unseemly for me. Mr. Lanza, you're 24 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had maybe 1, possibly 2 out-of-wedlock children. That's enough.
He also told me that he was 27.
Well, he gets confused. In any event, you should have been smart enough to use some birth control so that we wouldn't be here involved. And who is this lady?
My mother.
How many children in your family?
There's 4 altogether.
Are you the oldest, the youngest, or in the middle?
In the middle.
All the other children live home?
No, ma'am.
You think your mother signed on to take care of a new baby?
No.
You live at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Look at it this way. It might keep you young. Then again, it might not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You were pregnant, and you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Monique Benavente says the father of her child, Carlos Lanza, owes for 2 truck payments she made on his behalf.
Now, in addition to making a mistake of having a child with him, you gave him 2 truck payments because he was behind in his truck payments, a truck that is in his mother's name. In your mother's name?
Yes, ma'am.
You're very polite. Did you ask her so politely when you needed the truck payments?
I got behind. The work was slow, and she was getting a check from her settlement from a car accident she was in a couple years ago, and it was our only vehicle that we had at the time.
That's
And
not true.
I was driving her everywhere, from San Jose to Modesto to her doctor appointments, shopping, all that stuff.
Where were you living?
Behind. Excuse me?
Where were you living?
San Jose.
With her?
Yes.
Just the 2 of you?
No, we were in a cousin's house.
Whose cousin?
My cousin.
And?
And after that, we moved in with my dad because I was working with him, general contractor. And, work was too slow. And she offered to help me pay the truck payments. That way we wouldn't lose the only vehicle that we had. She wasn't working at the time because her back and being pregnant, she couldn't be at a salon for 10 hours,
That's not true.
Don't interrupt him again. How long did you live together where you supported her?
Maybe 9 months.
How long did you live together when you were not working, Miss Benavente?
Around 9 months, off and on.
And he was supporting you?
No, ma'am. I worked, I did hair, and I paid some of our bills. I paid for a lot of our food, and I did support him in finding a job, paying his gas money that he would use for other things that I found out later.
And what did he pay for?
He paid for some of what I just said. He paid for some of the food, some of the Macy's
What
bills.
did you pay for, Mr. Lanza?
Actually, I got her the phone. It was a T-Mobile phone. I was paying the monthly payments. I bought her food, I bought her clothes, I bought her shoes. Anything she needed, I got it. When I was working in a contract, I would actually leave work.
Doesn't anybody pay rent?
Yeah, I was paying rent, of course.
Where were you paying the rent?
I was paying my cousin $500 a month.
Is that right?
No, we got kicked out of his cousins because he wasn't paying rent.
I did pay. The whole situation was that we were there for almost 4 months. On the 3rd month, I spoke to my cousin, look, man, my work has slowed down. I could give you $250 now and then $250 towards the end of the month. He said, well, you know what? I'm behind too. I just lost my job, so you're going to have to do something. I said, well, I don't want to owe you money. So I told him, you know what? We could just leave. I'll just go and...
I got it. Now, Ms. Benavente, why don't you tell me how it came about that you made these 2 truck payments? You were pregnant.
I was pregnant.
And you only had 1 car at the time.
No, that's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
Okay, fine.
And you had 1 car at the time. And he was driving you to and from your medical appointments?
Sometimes.
Listen, unless you're stuck in his cousin's house or in his father's house, then wherever you had to go, somebody was taking you.
I was stuck there. My mom would pick me up. He would drop me off at my mom's house, and she would take me to my appointments, and
Fine.
sometimes he would meet us
So he would
there.
drop you off at your mother's house. I mean, at first you lied to me and said to me that you had 2 cars. Now you're telling me that he would drop you off at your mother's house so she could take you to the appointments. Let me hear about the 2 truck payments, Miss Benavente.
Okay, so he couldn't hold a job, and he asked me to borrow them. He agreed to pay me back, and I believed him.
No. Tell me what he said to you. Where were you? Where was he? Tell me about it.
We were at his dad's house, and he asked me, he said, look, I can't work unless I have a car. It's going to get repossessed. My mom's credit's going to get ruined. Can you please help me out? And he said, I promise I will pay you back when I get a job. When he got a job, he never paid me back.
Did you tell her you would pay her back?
No, ma'am. The whole thing about us living together means, I mean, I would think when you...
No, don't tell me what you think.
Anyways.
Tell me what was said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead. Well, I told her, you know, I need these truck payments because I'm never going to lose the only vehicle. So she said, fine. We made the payments and everything was fine.
In what month did you make the payments?
It was either late December, early January.
And when did the two of you separate?
June.
In June?
Yes, ma'am.
Between January and June, did he pay for the truck?
He didn't pay me anything.
And you lived together?
Yes.
And it was after you separated that you sued him, is that right?
Yes, but I continuously asked him to please pay me back.
You were living together as a couple, madam, at the time that he made these two truck payments. He was paying rent, he was paying bills, and I assume that you were working marginally before your baby was born, if at all, at least in the last 3 months. Somebody had to support you. Somebody had to be paying the bills. That was not you, and it was not your mother. And I'm quick to note that you and the defendant were not living with your mother, but you were living with the defendant in his cousin's house or in his father's house. Put your hand down. You weren't there. And it doesn't make sense to me that living in that kind of situation, expecting a baby, and living as a couple, he would say to you, could you loan me this money and I will pay you back, when he was in fact supporting you. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused, you may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
They were arguing, and they started to get a little loud, so I tried to tell Stephen and Travis, you know, calm down.
He comes at me like this. I took it as a threat, and that's when I swung on him.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.